facilitator for the next 2 hours. I facilitate training at ACHRP, which I'm very privileged. And also I keep telling Dan, thank you for always bringing us together, great minds around HR practices. We can also, if you're in business, if you're in consultancy, if you're working full-time, if you're in between employment, because I know we are at all different stages of our lives. I love the fact that we can network here and get to the next place. I also lecture at College of Human Resources. I lecture coaching. So if we've interacted before, a big shout out to you. I have also been very privileged to work as a HR practitioner, over 20 years of work experience in corporate level, at NGO level, very privileged to have worked in some policy implementation with the government. So I consider myself privileged, let's put it like that. So that's me. And finally, I'm an executive coach, something that I so love, coaching at middle management, senior management, and I also coach a very exciting group, The Blind. So my friend and I run and facilitate a small NGO called Enable. You can check it up after this seminar. So I seem not to hear. Is everybody else hearing me? My mic is at the fullest. Please let me know if you can't hear me. Marianne cannot hear me. Can everybody else hear me?
Very loud and clear.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, so maybe Marianne, you'd have to adjust your mic or check on your mic or something on your volume. Anyway, so that's me. And yeah, so here we are, Manpower Planning. And I'm sure you checked on the 2 days program, and that's why we are here, increasing in number. What I would like to hear are your objectives, your expectations for this webinar for the next 2 days, so that we're able just to, incrementally build on it and make sure that we're able to take back very important lessons for ourselves as individuals, and something that we can also mainstream at our businesses, at our places of work, and also just our own self-development. Anyone? Expectations for the day, even if it's just to say hello, unmute yourself, say hello, your expectations, what you really hope to take away from today's webinar. Anyone?
Hi, my name is Jane Wanjahi.
Yes, hi Jane.
I come with an open mind. I want to learn or to unlearn anything I have. So I've come with a very open mind to learn.
Oh, fantastic, Jane. Yeah, how you doing? Yeah, I know you in another lifetime, so welcome.
Asante sana.
Great. Yeah, someone else?
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, hi, Agray.
Yes, how are you?
Good, thanks. And you, how was your Easter?
Very short.
They're made in China. They don't last.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here. Yes, I am hoping to learn about manpower planning, why it is the way it is, and how I can improve on my manpower planning. Because usually sometimes I just go to the gate and say, where.
No, where.
True.
Yeah, true. Thank you, Agray. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fantastic. And I like sometimes the way things are great, because then the way can also be coming from the top, isn't it? Some pressure, undue pressure on us. So yeah, that the way comes from there as well. Yeah, someone else? No one else?
Good morning.
Morning. Hi, Sinjaroge.
Yeah, Catherine Jeroge. I'm very passionate with this because in the midst of many dynamics, especially where I work, at times you wonder, is it worth planning or not? So, and again, I'm very interested in the metrics parts.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, okay. I think that is important. Yeah, the metrics part, how do we get it done? You know, and how do we measure it? What is the importance of measuring it? Yeah, so that's good. Yeah, great. Someone else? So do that. Let me look for my slides and notes. Someone else?
Maybe I can. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning. We can hear you.
Good morning. Too. Yeah, I'm excited to hear this morning. I'm sure I'm going to learn whether I'm doing the right thing or not, especially now with the COVID-19 pandemic, which has really changed the way of doing things. So I'm excited and I look forward to getting new ideas as we interact. Thank you.
Yeah, around COVID, I know many of us have been affected around, especially last year, retrenchment, you know, asking people to go home until we are ready for the business inevitable. I know also our recruitments were a bit hard around, even if it was really a good candidate, you wanted to bring them on board, they were not sure that they wanted to move during that time. So I don't know whether you faced that challenge around, well, I like what you are putting on the table. I think the work is very challenging. I am happy to come through, but I'm not sure about the stability. So I would rather stay where I am right now, and then I will, as let's figure out as this thing goes along and stuff like that. I don't know, it was a very tough time around. We had all these other plans that we wanted to bring in new people, but COVID came, and then after that, all those plans were shelved. You know, I spoke to many recruiters, you know, headhunters, and they said it just dried, you know, in March until much later in the year when they got one or two positions to place in various companies. So it was real. And then after that, some of the people that you let go were really resourceful. Really resourceful. There's some people who are very resourceful. Let's call a spade, and some people just piggy bank on others. You know, well, I work here, it's fine and stuff. Those people, you know, if they knew it was time for them to move and they took the brave step of moving aside, then you were left with talent that was really not to the best of your business. So different challenges around manpower planning. Then how do you bounce back from a fragile position into a position of people saying that we believe in your brand? Some people left, you let people go, now you're asking them to come back. The other challenge that I have found and faced with on a focus group last week, just around manpower planning, and we were saying, so how do you build trust back into a fragile organization where you let people go, you are not very kind to them, now you're asking them to come back? How are you really going to save face and say, well, Catherine, it's time for, would you like us to engage? And you remind me, you know what you did in March, or how you didn't communicate so well. And it just goes to show that manpower planning is the first thing that any organization would want to do. And if you won't take anything out of this webinar this morning, which you will, is that if you don't know your company's strategy, your organization's strategy, in and out, then no matter how much you try to do manpower planning, you'll never be successful. Sorry, I broke the bad news too soon, too fast. You know, can you see my screen? Let me just try to get away from the bad news. Can you see my screen? Anyway, so if you don't understand your company strategy, if you don't understand your competitor, if you don't understand your comparator, you know, where your business is going, it is very difficult for you to do manpower planning. You'll always be under pressure of, so this position is, we need someone, you know, and you're running up and down and you don't have time, and the hiring manager is giving you pressure to do that anyway. So that, I think that is important for us. Yeah. So for us to set the tempo and the pace of it. Yeah. Can see my screen? Hands up, raise a hand if you can see it, so that we can continue. So yes, I love the fact that you've all attested to what we are saying. You know, meaning of manpower planning. We see it all the time. We come across it. And also another thing, yes, thank you guys that you can see it here. Another thing that you will take away if you're doing your CHRP, nice, you know, all these things accumulate to knowledge gathering, your skills. If you're doing these courses at CHRP, it becomes much easier. And I like to run webinars. I always think, oh, face-to-face, the best way to run webinars, but here we are, we can still learn, is that please unmute yourself. Let me not be the one talking for too long. Unmute yourself, give you experience, you know, ask questions, you know, critique. I think that is important. Challenge, you know. I love the fact that this World Women's Day, International Women's Day was, I choose to challenge, you know. Let that be your slogan for the rest of this year. I choose to challenge both men and women around what we are doing, what we are going to say. Okay. So someone, what is manpower planning? Our understanding of manpower planning. We use that term very interchangeably, you know. The board tells you, well, bring us your manpower planning strategy for next year. You go with, you say you want 60 positions, and then they only come back and give you 8 positions because they say you didn't understand this, and you wonder, oh, okay. That's why I say important of knowing your strategy. Someone? Meaning, definition of manpower planning, the very simplest of definition. Someone tell me.
Simplest explanation.
Yeah.
Planning on how many people you need to be able to deliver on your objective.
Okay, I'd like to answer.
Thank you, Jane. Yeah. Salima?
Yes, manpower planning is when you are basically strategizing or you are planning about your human resource, just the way you are planning for your assets. Similarly, for the year or based on your strategy or your budget, you are also planning of how many positions in terms of human resources you would like to fill in your organization.
Yeah.
You are also deciding on the budgets. You are also deciding on the positions. All that entails in manpower planning.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you're deciding upon everything that really comes into whatever. And if you don't have a budget, then you'll never be able to recruit someone. And what I also find very interesting in for many HRs is the ability to come and tell the hiring manager, we need to have the total cost to company. And the hiring manager looks at you and wonder, okay, fine. What do you mean by total cost to company? What is total cost to company? And how do we calculate total cost to company in manpower planning? Someone? Total cost to company? Anyone? Total cost to company? There's no right or wrong. Yeah.
So total cost to company is the annualized cost of what it will take for the employees to serve for that year. So it includes everything, including their salaries and all their benefits and all their basically remuneration and anything else that touches directly on engaging an employee. So if their travel costs included, for example, to relocate an employee, all of that, any employee-related cost that's required for them to serve you for the year, that's the CTC for the year.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and fixed cost is an important component, is the primary way of calculating total cost to company. The variable cost, what would be some of the variable costs, for example? What are some of the fixed costs? Let's take even in the Kenyan context of total cost to company, fixed cost and variable cost. To annualize that person, if you want to hire me in your organization, and then you only have 75,000 shillings as the salary, and the hiring manager says, I only have 75, and then you tell them, but you need 185,000 to hire Catherine, and they ask you, so How am I getting the rest of the money? And the complete answer would be, then you can't afford her. Too bad. Or you would tell them then the only way you can be able to afford this head is if you pay them 20,000 as their pay and gross up the rest. I mean, you figure out all these other things. You add on these other things, and then you can afford them. Fixed cost, variable costs. Some of the fixed costs. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like when you have this is your payroll. From the HR perspective, that would end up being a fixed payroll for the period that it is running within the budget system. But now when you start looking at people like the sales department that have different components of earning money, say there is commission or depending on deliverables. So commission will depend on what they bring in, and so it will always vary. So that is a variable cost, and it's normally paid dependent on a certain delivery stream. So that would be variable, where salary that you agree to be.
Yeah. Your sales commission plan is a variable cost. Another example, thank you. Let's lift them down. They can be as many as we are. Variable cost, fixed cost in a Kenyan context. Examples?
Additional fixed costs would be like compulsory insurances, maybe like medical and WIBA per head.
Okay. Fixed cost, yeah. Someone else? Fixed cost, yeah. Medical, WIBA. Someone else? Variable cost apart from sales commissions?
Some of the variable costs will include like daily subsistence allowance, which are not fixed. And we also have overtime, which is just comes up and it's never fixed. It may vary from time to time.
Yeah.
Yes, and then probably something like hardship allowance. I want to look at it as a variable also. Then shift allowance, if the company has that provision, then that falls under variable allowance. Thank you.
Yeah, true. Yeah, things like bonus, all those things that we have talked, they're variable because it varies from month to month, So those are things that you don't provision in you provision them in your books, but again, you do not. They will come from time to time. You still know that this is a cost of running the business, and if XYZ is going to earn overtime, this amount of whatever. And of course, some companies have also capped how much you can earn on overtime and how many hours anyway, not how much you can earn on overtime, how many hours you can work on overtime and stuff like that. So yeah, so variable cost and your fixed cost. And that's why it is important as HR to always look at your P&L at the end of every month. I wonder whether you look at your P&L to see whether you are actually within the limit or it's going off the limit. Extremely important. Interrogate it at the end of every month because it's such a good way to be able to see where you are headed in terms of your manpower planning, even the one that the talent that is already internally, you already working with them. It is very important to make sure that you're containing your costs. So very important. Any question? Any question? Captain, needed,
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, Solomon.
Yeah. Catherine, it is not.
Sorry. Hi, Dan.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Now, I don't want to contribute to what you are to your question, but I want to take this opportunity to welcome everyone. My name is Dan, and this is Academy of Certified Human Resource Professionals. we do all we can to bring affordable training to HR professionals in this country. This is our fifth year learning, and we do this passionately. So every now, somebody says there is no sound.
I can hear you.
Very well.
We can hear you.
Asante. So let me also thank those who've logged in today for showing great interest to learn with me. I also want to learn. That's why I don't want to say anything that I don't know, Madam Catherine. I'm also your student today to run on manpower planning. Those who are taking CHRP,
kuongea naona tu vizuri ya kuongea. Naona vizuri sana kuongea lakini kutekeleza ndio naona challenge.
Someone needs to mute, thank you.
Okay. So for those who are taking CHRP 12, that is human resource employee resourcing. I saw topic number 3 is on human resource planning. So we can also, you can also take this chance and take this course as a way of revising on topic number 3 on HR planning. And very soon, Madam Catherine, I would also want us to have a topic on coaching and mentoring, so that again, we would be able to move together. I don't know whether, Catherine, you told our participants that you are an accredited executive coach.
Yes, I did, because I'm very passionate about coaching.
Yeah, very well. So if you have, I've seen people are able to interact with our LMS very effectively, because as of last night, this class had, those who had logged into the system were 126. But I know also there are others who've paid, but they are not able to use the system. So in case you're having challenges, I'm always available to help. Those who we've interacted, like Salima, Rosetta, I guess I know everyone here by name. You know that I devote a lot of time to see to it that one, how comes Joyfully says there is no sound? Joyfully?
I think it could be his mic. We can hear you, Dan. Please continue.
Okay,
I think
very
he
well.
needs to adjust his mic.
All right. Now, so I would want you, Catherine, to continue with your training. I'll not talk again. I will not talk again, but I'll share my number on the chat box, such that in case one has an issue, let me know. This particular training is accredited for 2 CPD points. It is an online training, accredited as such. It's a 3-hour program today, and 3-hour program, then some 3 more hours tomorrow. Then again on Thursday, we shall be having the employee onboarding with the CHRP Agnes Mweni. That is on Thursday and Friday. Again, I know most of you subscribed for that course too. This was our way of, you take this as our Easter holiday offer. So we thought, let's do this together. And again, it is a nice way of opening, of starting this year together, and see that we are able to assist you and assist one another, acquire our 10 CPD points. Some time ago I said, but for those who are new today, I would repeat this. Niseme, at ACHRP, we are not all about money. That's why I saw somebody chatting me up that when I put the cost there, I got a message that, are you serious? like somebody thought maybe this is a con or something. No, that's what we do. And I get very happy when I see people subscribing and people joining us to bring training closer to the people at an affordable rate. By the way, training should be free. It's only that we have said to meet a few costs, like let's say the systems cost, the trainer's fee, the accreditation fee, and so on. But we shall continue doing this, and I hope that you'll be together with me or with us in this journey. Thank you.
Sound is on and off, so we don't hear anything.
Yeah, so thank you, Dan, for that introduction. We appreciate, and I'd already said that ACHRP continues to offer credible, affordable trainings, and we all come together with our many years of experience to learn and to share and to go back better, sharpened. Yeah, so welcome everybody. For the ones who have recently joined the webinar, we haven't gone too far. We've just set the pace for what it is and talked about total cost to company, which is important. So check on your P&L. So we see all these tops. I love seeing those creative adverts, and we are hiring. Do you want to join our team? There was one that went around last, and I took special interest on it. Which brand was that? We are hiring, this is what you bring. And then the employer had also said, this is what we will give you. How nice, this is what we want from you, and this is what we will give to you. How nice, just making sure that we can meet each other in the middle. I'm coming to work for you, so what is in it for me? You want to hire me, these are the skills that we need from you. So that was really nice. So we see all these types of adverts going round and whatever. So the introduction, however, do you know that there are certain strategies that employers follow to plan their manpower for the year? The rate of recruitment varies at different parts of the year, as well from one industry to another. The amount of manpower required varies industry-wise as well as project-wise. That's very true. Some industries will forever be hiring, like in the agriculture business, when it's peak season, maybe for harvest or for tilling the land and preparing, you'll need more people. When it's time for the plants now to start germinating and whatever, it slows down, you just need people to come and weed and stuff like that. And then when it's peak season for harvesting, you have all these people coming in, so it just varies from industry to industry. Sometimes when you have new products in the market, you're trying to manufacture and you'll get in more people. And then after that, when that stabilizes, then again, it goes down. So there's seasonal hiring. That's important for us to know. So let's look at manpower in details, and we had already, yeah. So there are various words that can be used synonymously for the word manpower. Some are human resources. What is a human resource in your organization? So people use this interchangeably. Personnel, and a word that many people shy away from, because we think it's a cake in the 21st century, but it's still personnel. It's people at work, fancy names that come in now into the whatever. And the other one is, the last one is manpower, So around that, interchangeably, people at work, how many people do you have? What is your human resource complement? We hear words like that. The personnel head count in this organization, what is manpower planning? And so don't get confused. It's one and the same thing. Yeah. So manpower planning is known as workforce planning. We'll agree. Manpower planning is a process of personnel planning, formulating plans to fill the future openings based on the analysis of environment and organizational plans. It's not just I want 10 people filled in this position and you have no position. I like what one of the participants say, I'm given pressure, bring in this person and there's no position. And that might happen. And sometimes that happens a lot. And we will hear why it happens and what are some of the challenges, how you feel as the HR or the person in charge for recruitment. It's also a function of management concerned with hiring, motivating, and maintaining people in the organization. I would like to emphasize motivating and maintaining people in the organization. I wonder whether the COVID, the onset of this now, the third wave, has impacted our workforce. Apart from the industries that we know that has really been impacted, the hospitality industry, do we feel that businesses have started looking at it from another point of view, that we now need to look at our manpower again, because we don't know how long the lockdown is going to take into effect? And we see that, people have already been told, oh, please stay home, because then if we were supplying, if let's say we are the ones who used to supply potatoes at 10 restaurants around Nairobi. Now we can't supply them. Do you need all those people? So it's a snowball effect. Unfortunately, it goes on and on and on, and people are, very scared around what it is and what can really give us some bit of foresight, what can really give us of clarity around our business plans, our strategies, to make sure that even when these things happen, very, very uncertain things, unfortunately, we can still be able to hold on to our manpower. Manpower planning applies to management principles of procuring, developing, maintaining people in an organization. So manpower planning takes care of natural depletion of workforce and changing needs of the company as far as quality and nature of workers is concerned. So let's stop there and talk about manpower planning around COVID times. I would like to mute yourself and say, given that the hospitality industry is not working, what are some of the things that we need to put in place? Just think of your place where you work as your own organization. Say that you are even the owner or the CEO. What would be some of your concerns right now around this third wave? Anything around manpower planning and around your people in terms of motivating and maintaining people in the organization? Any thoughts? Oh, we are all trying not, we're looking not panicky, but panicky inside, anxious of thinking, oh, how will I maintain my payroll? I think that's the greatest, that's a real big challenge for every organization, because 30% of your operational expenses goes to payroll. Anyone? Unmute yourself. There's no right or wrong. What are some of the things your organization has done? Have you been impacted? Do you feel that it's important to put any strategies in place? Or after that, you've just said no more hiring? It can't happen. It's not happening. Anyone?
I think I'll share what has happened to us since last year.
Yeah, thanks, Jen.
It's been a difficult time, our business being affected, especially the kind of business we are in. We look to face-to-face delivery of our programs, and that was stopped, especially getting the biggest hit in our largest economy, China.
Yeah.
So the first thing we did was, because there's no revenue coming in, was first and foremost to freeze all recruitment. So that already affected us, because people still leave, and if we have a frozen recruitment strategy, it means that their people will continue to pick up the slack of where there's a gap.
Exactly.
The next thing, of course, had to freeze any increases that we will get into our payroll. So everything we froze was bonuses, increases, moving from one position to another, whether even taking on a bit more was to now translate into developmental instead of earning more money. So that has affected, of course, the motivation. So we're looking at ways to use other ways to motivate people. But the goodness is we did not reduce anybody's salary.
Fantastic. Well done. Thank you, Jane. Yeah. So we saw increased pressure of people pushing in more hours, people having to upskill themselves deliberately to be able to do extra, to do work in things that they never did before, but they needed to upskill themselves in a way they didn't even think that they would do that. So more hours of work, upskilling deliberately without even maybe the employer giving you the time to upskill and get there. And of course, now saying that if I was thinking that my salary would go up by 5% and I needed to do something with that extra money, the plans that I have to reinforce my social and economic status, that was not going to happen. And let me tell you guys, the fact that organizations keep telling people you are lucky, you're in a job, is not motivating enough. Count yourself lucky that we did not close. Well, it's in a way, it is good to reform that. We are lucky that we did not close. We've been able to retain everybody at the same whatever, but it's not a way of telling them you should be grateful. I know we should be grateful every morning when we have things going for us, but it's not a way of the employer keeping telling you, you must work hard because you are lucky to be here. We did not close like XYZ. No. Not in these fragile days. You need to let people, you need to connote that phrase around, we are lucky to have you in this business because without you, we maybe have closed. We like the fact that you have brought in and we can see that you have learned extra XYZ, even in times when we are not able to hire. You took the job that Catherine was doing because Catherine left and you seem to be excelling in it. We need to continuously affirm people and not invalidate them. And I tell people all the time, and that's why when you are back in business and you think, well, I can open and I can continue, you come back to the people you let go, they look at you and wonder, really, do I want to come and work for you? So thanks, Jane, for sharing. Someone else?
I can share about for those companies that have a mix of permanent, contracted, and casual staff. In a sense, the workload has become a bit more erratic for HR because, like, for example, contracted and casual staff, like in the periods where we've had clients who are severely affected by the lockdowns, we've had to not renew contracted staff, those who are there for 3 months, 1 month. And then when the lockdown was lifted, we engage them again, but only for a period of 3 months, whereas before we used to engage them for even up to 12 months. It's been so erratic and the motivation has been low. We've noticed a lot more accidents and incidences because there's just no more heart in the work, but you're also prioritizing ensuring that the same people you had before that come.
We lost you. Yeah. We lost you. Yeah. But thank you for that. Touching on motivation, I'm only going because I have nothing else to do. I need to put food on the table for my family. So I say, well, even if yeah, sorry, we lost you. Yeah, your internet is not too stable, but I now took up from where you are, So 3 months, we don't know hiring process and stuff like that. And it really destabilizes because then every time there's always in and out, and in and out also means that you have to look at all these other things. Let me tell you, I employed someone one day when I was working in a certain company, and I forgot to send their details. And I say that because there was someone else in the team who was supposed to send the details. But being head of the department, I took full responsibility, and that is important. We forgot to send the details of the person, and the person that died that night. That night, they went home, they were going home, and they were hit by a bus and they died. And worse still is that it was on the 24th of December. No, it was maybe like 22nd, we were closing. So that story needs to be told because the ins and outs, especially if you work in the NGO sector, you have to be so careful around your benefits and putting people on your benefits like WIBA or GLA or GPS, whatever you call them, on medical, offboarding them, onboarding them, offboarding them, and boarding them. Ask me how that story went. So the relatives are coming and say, oh, our person died, and say, what was his name again? Had you even onboarded them? So for me as Catherine, the first thing whether it is the casual coming in and they decide to have benefits. And that's why I say about what manpower planning, being very passionate, I'm being very passionate about it, is that welcome to XYZ company. We are happy to have you. The first thing, before anything else, sit here with me. Me, Catherine, which I don't have to do, but I keep on saying, please complete these forms. And of course, before onboarding, you have told them this is what's going to happen. You know, your onboarding starts from the fact that you have advertised for this job. You know, you've advertised for this job. You're looking at a potential client, a potential candidate. They come in. So the first thing I do, you know, thank you. This is the form. These are the forms that you need to complete. And then the rest of the work can be taken up by anybody else, because the lesson was painful and difficult. And that's why I keep on saying your networks are your net worth. You just need to negotiate and find a way. Okay, we found a way, and with the insurance paid. So in the end and stuff, it wasn't too bad. We just said we forgot, and they said pay premium and then whatever. And that's having a good relationship. You know, they are partners in this. So anyway, so that's a sidetrack, but it can happen. You know, just keeping everybody happy and debriefing and learning out of it and saying, well, so erratic workforce, what does it mean? It means that you need to pay an extra eye based on the people who are coming, going out, going in, going out, your P&L that we spoke again. Someone else before we move on, last share around COVID, motivating, hiring, motivating and maintaining people in an organization, in your organization. Anyone? Anyone? An experience around hiring? Okay. So let's move on, and you can always unmute yourself. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so manpower planning consists of three processes: the forecasting, the developing, and the controlling. Manpower planning is also called, we have already said that, human resource planning, personnel planning, or employee planning. Manpower planning is defined by the process of management where an organization should move from its current manpower position to the desired position. What's your current position? What's your desired position? How do you know what is your desired position? Are you a magician to know your desired position? How do you know? How do you tell what is your desired position? What are some of the tools that you can put in place? Or what are some of the tools that you have put in place as HR or as a business? Let me put it like that. Or it's just, okay, fine. XYZ has left. We need to, whatever. Okay, so let's go back to the definition first before we come to the desired position, because we will, as Catherine says, she wants to look at the metrics and how you get there. What is your desired position? So what is forecasting? How do you forecast? The weather forecast to be sunny, and then it will start having cloudy, and then the temperatures will drop from 26 to 22. Forecasting, how do you forecast? Let's contribute, please. How do we develop and how do we control? Someone please unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, forecasting has to do a lot with the strategy that the management has put in place. Because when you strategize and say this is the organization and how we look at it, these are the kind of people that we want, and these are the numbers. This is also the budget that we have for training, because then that would fall into developing. How do you develop these people? And then how do you control to make sure that the budget remains sufficient? Because you can also overdo things and controlling becomes a bit of a problem. So you need to start by focus with the strategy and then training budget, and then you maintain it. Maintaining is where controlling comes in.
Yeah, controlling. Yeah. And of course, around controlling also involves motivating. You know, when I have a motivated workforce, when I have a good retention strategy, all those things put in place, I'm able to control. I'm able to control my budgets. I'm able to control my workforce. And anything else around developing? Thank you very much. Developing. You know, these slides are just whatever, and that's why I say come to whatever. Let's dive deep, you know, into. We don't just want to read the slides without unpacking them. Around developing, training, what else can we do? You know, developing our people.
Can I contribute?
Yes, Alicia.
Yeah, in training, you can also look at the future plans you have as an organization. Maybe you want to introduce certain products or activities, and you will need that talent in the future. So you got to look at the future requirements. Thank you.
Yeah. So developing, looking at the future talent that you will need, upgrading, upskilling, all those things that we need around training, hedging into the future. What jobs will be required? Where is our business going? How will technology impact us? Yeah. Developing, what are some of the things that you can do around developing and controlling? Anybody else? Anybody else? Your talent pools, where are they?
Catherine,
Yeah.
I think in developing is also being able to train, probably for lack of a better word, somebody in a junior position in preparation for succession, just in case those who already have the skill and talent that you paid for decide to leave, so that you internally have a pipeline. So that's also developing.
Yeah. Developing a strong pipeline, just the way salespeople develop a pipeline. You know, how are we developing our talent pipeline internally? Do we have a talent pool? Are we coaching? Are we mentoring? Are we job shadowing? You know, all these things around development. Are we looking at our performance development plans and saying this is how it goes, and this, you know, in a very structured and systematic way? Because people leave. And many people, people leave even good organizations. People who work for Amazon leave, people who work for Google leave, people who work for XYZ, they leave because of many reasons. They leave because of maybe they've been terminated, or they have people die, people resign, you know, people leave on medical grounds. So it's important for us just to remember that developing people internally at all levels in the organization, it's important for us to be able to do that. And then after that, it's very easy for us to be able to control our costs, to be able to control our talent, to be able to control the strategy of the business. Because if you are not doing that, then you will always be looking and saying, well, they've left, bring them in. And who gets the blame when people are always leaving? Who gets the blame? Who gets the blame? It's always HR. Don't accept the blame. Take the blame back to the line manager. And then after that, take the blame to the CEO. Guess why? And you need to be brave enough to take the blame to the CEO, because maybe some of the things that you have said that should be done are not being done. And remember, the CEO is the overall head of everything in the organization. They take full responsibility. They just make sure that they have a team that they can work with, and a team that is able to execute what they have been told to do. So what's the objective of manpower planning? The desired position, we'll continue looking at desired manpower position as we progress, and you will see how it will now just come into play, because the desired is not using a crystal ball. We always have this joke, you know, so I'm a magician. I will need to know how many positions I'll need at the end of the year, to take to the board. I'll need 60, or last year we brought in 25 people. It's, I think we should be bringing in now 10%, of 25%, and then you come and say, oh, okay, now we'll bring in 2.5 people more. So you round it off and say, well, I'll bring in 3 people. It doesn't go like that. You might not even need to bring anyone, or you might need to bring in 50 more people. Okay. So what are some of the objectives of manpower planning? Anyone? Okay. Someone read for us. That's how I facilitate. Unmute yourself, maybe the best, whatever, unmute. Easy peasy. Objectives. What is the objective of your business? So there's objectives, there's importance, the benefits of manpower planning. Someone unmute yourself, just reading what is on the screen. You don't even have to explain. Yes, we become more participatory.
Okay, let me read.
Thank you.
To anticipate the impact of technology on jobs and human resources.
Mm-hmm.
To determine the level of recruitment and training.
Mm-hmm.
To estimate the cost of human resources and housing mm-hmm. needs of employees.
Mm-hmm.
And to meet the needs of expansion and diversification programs.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you very much. Yeah, so if you don't have a manpower policy and you're asked the objectives, don't think too much. You can come and pick these slides, which will be put on the LMS after this, So what's the objective? When people say, well, you keep talking to us about manpower planning in this organization, what is the objective? From the strategy, from the organization strategy, I hope you've been able to craft your HR strategy. And then some of these things is saying, why would we want manpower planning? To make sure that we have the desired talent in the organization, the optimal capacity of manpower in the organization. We also don't want people who are redundant and the jobs which are non-existent still being done, So what did you guys do when you're working from home? What happened to your people-facing positions like customer service, front desk admin people? Where are they now? Tell me where they went. Tell me where they went. What happened to them?
Ours we still retained, if I should say. We used technology where we rerouted some of the systems. So if you call, it goes directly to a certain customer service person who's at home to be able to respond to you. So we use technology to help us in that.
Fantastic. Impact of technology on businesses. Yeah. So they were still, you could still retain them. Someone else? What did you do to them?
To add on what she has said, we had a very rigorous training on how to do things online. And right now, almost the whole institution has people trained to work online from home, and the business is ongoing.
Okay, great. Yeah. So yeah, use of technology, leveraging on technology, looking at what technology can do for you, for your business. And some, we've always known that one day technology will overtake people, and we'll need to use technology more. But now we were forced to come into the real fourth industrial revolution. It avalanched on us, even when we didn't think it was time for us to do that. Some, it was more expensive than others because some people had already started planning that businesses and stuff like that. But some people never leveraged on technology, and it meant that they had to use much more money, maybe forgo bonuses, forgo salary increments for their staff, for us to be able to keep afloat with the business. Okay, great. Yeah. Okay. Someone else? Okay. So what would we say is the importance of work? So those are the objectives, the 4 main objectives, is to make sure that we can be able to estimate the cost of human resource, determine the level of recruitment and training that we need for people. And of course, we know that recruitment can come in any ways, in various forms, looking internally and looking externally, just to inject new blood into the organization to meet the needs of expansion and diversification programs. If we are diversifying our business, our services, our products that we offer. Even the government. I woke up yesterday to 1.2 trillion by borrowing. I had to ask how many, for a long time, how many zeros does a trillion have, and then I saw 12. Then I'm thinking, really? Anyway, that's a debate for another day. So let's see. If I had seen exactly what the government has done, and I'm talking as Catherine now, maybe I would be more convinced that the money borrowed was good enough, but I didn't see any good infrastructure. I know that the express highway is still being funded by the Chinese government. I just didn't see where the money went to. Anyway, but that's a story for another day. Very, 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 very unfortunate. Let's put it like that. Importance of manpower planning. Importance. So even before I go to importance of manpower planning, a question for us, and let's brainstorm. When you are planning to set up a new business, do you first hire or do you set up the business first? Or do you do both, and why? I'm sure you also have maybe a side business that you do. How do you plan? Maybe even the business plan has been written out for you. You have brainstormed it. You have gone and done a market survey, a market research, and you know that whatever you want to do is going to be successful. So what do you do first? Do you hire, and this business needs 30 people? Do you bring in the 30 people to start the business? Or how do you approach with caution, or you're just this risk taker who come and say, it's going to work, here comes in my new product and everybody's going to know it in town? How do you plan?
I think you should set up first. Or this is Eunice. I think you should set up first.
Yeah.
Reason being, very disorienting to bring people, and you're also not organized yourself. So you come up, you end up in a situation whereby everybody is running helter-skelter. Then you have to do damage control after that, after you have figured out, oh, now this thing works, we are going this way. Then now you have to do damage control with the employees, and sometimes because of first impressions and the fact that we are also human, you may never quite fully recover. It will take you a very long time. You might as well have just set up first, seen the challenges, so that you're giving, and when you hire someone, you're giving them something that they get proper direction. They know this is where we are going. They see where they are adding value, and that way you all grow.
Okay. Yeah. Set up first and then bring in the people as the business grows. Someone else of a different opinion?
Yeah, I can talk of a different opinion.
What my friend said, that let's start off cautiously, start off so that you actually understand what the that you're setting up, and therefore you have a good idea before you start hiring what kind of person would be able to do the kind of jobs that you're actually putting in place. Otherwise, you go and hire, you have no idea what exactly it entails, and therefore you get to the point.
Okay, Jen, yeah, okay. So set up the business first and then hire. Okay, someone else was of a different idea?
Yeah, I unless you have ever done a side hustle or attempted to be disappointed in life and start an entrepreneurship, the kind of answers of setting up first does not fly. And I'll tell you why. Because the issue is methodology. You see, there are some jobs that it's the method that as you run along, as you are setting up, there will be some critical tasks that need to be done by other people. So you need to maybe pay piecework or day work at the beginning. You are not hiring. So it's being bright about how you are coming up with, this is the job structure and this is what I want you to do for this limited time, because assumably you've already carried out a research and you know this is what there is. Yeah, you are not hiring, you are very clear to this that I'm not giving you a permanent job, this is a 2 days thing, 3 days thing. So you work on piecework or you work on an agreement like casual for some time, and then is when you take up the other costs accordingly. Otherwise, you will burn yourself out. You'll have burnout even before you begin the manpower planning.
Okay. Someone else? Thank you for that. Someone else?
I wanted to say it, like in these times of technology, you notice there's a team of people who just come together from different settings with their own equipment and one person controlling them. So the nature of business depends on how you start. You can start by hiring, not as, because nowadays people doing technological work are paid based on what they put on the table, what they deliver. So it all varies on the nature of the business.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? I don't think there's any right or wrong. The traditional way of hiring people come and do the work, piecemeal, outsource it. It's very delicate, and I think it depends from business to business and what it is. I think the most important thing, whether it's a big corporate that is setting up in a new country or it's a new greenfield business that you are trying to set up and start, I think the most important thing critically is look at containing your costs. I think that's extremely important, because if you come in and hire 10 people, and if you don't have the business to be able, you don't have the money to be able to pay these 10 people, at the end of the month, you are struggling. You could also maybe have gone to the bank, or maybe you have saved and said, I have money to pay the 10 people because this is a critical business. Maybe it's manufacturing, it's a small factory, and you really need people to be able to do that, whether they come in on piecemeal. Remember also motivation. There are too many, it's too intricate. So that's why I keep on saying manpower planning is not just about bringing in someone and saying, I've given you a job. Here's the job, be grateful you have a job. And this is what we are going to do. You're bringing in a skill, I'm paying you for that skill. We must have, it's a convergence of mind. You know, I'm here, I'm happy to be here, I'm appreciated, I'm recognized for being here, and I'm able to do my best. So whether it's on a permanent basis, whether it's on a part-time basis, whether it's a consultancy basis, we must be able to look at the bigger picture of not just filling in that position, but how are we meeting each other for both of us to be motivated, for me to be able to go that. So very delicate around whether you bring in people from the very beginning, depending on your work, depending on the methodology that you will want to use, or whether you want to bring in people incrementally as you grow, depends. And sometimes we have to learn. There's no book in the shelf that you will go and buy from Prestige Bookshop and come and say, how do I start a program, a business? Do I bring in 10 people? It's tried and tested. And many people, I mean, there are people who can tell you about the experiences, and this is how it started, this is how I saw it growing, and these are some of the challenges. So you can learn from all that, but you can only be able to know that you will be able, how you succeed. There's no one formula. I think one of the things that we want to take as entrepreneurs or as people who hire people is the appetite to take risk, calculated risk, and come and say, if I take this risk, what does it mean? If I don't take this risk, what does it mean for me? So there's no science, but whatever fits, and sometimes you learn along the way. And are you able to offboard those people pretty quickly? You know, what are the repercussions of offboarding someone based on this process that based on this challenge that I am in, you know? So those are some of the things that we need to be aware of. So there's no one that fits all, either the traditional way or the abstract or way of coming and saying this is what we need to do. So yeah, very difficult. Again, it's a science. Again, it's a gamble. Your appetite risk, many things. And that's why it's important just to know that if I am going to start a business, me as an individual, I might be everything. I'll be the tea girl making my own tea. I'll be the one cleaning my own desk, you know, as I do that, and maybe just bringing in, outsource some of the services until I'm ready to bring in people on board. Okay. Yeah. And that's how many businesses start, you know, incrementally just getting to where we are. But for solid businesses, I think manpower planning now can be a bit more precise and much more gainful around what we need to bring in and some of the benefits and some of the things that we need to take into consideration while we are doing that. Okay, great. Importance of manpower planning very quickly. Don't we all know there could be as many? Anything that you would like to share out of that? Anyone who would like to read for us? Anyone? Unmute yourself, please. Yeah. Would like to read for us?
I will go ahead and read.
Yeah, thank you.
This is Grace. Importance of manpower planning. It helps to ascertain future personnel needs. It helps to create highly talented team of personnel. It forms the basis for personnel function, which is recruitment, selection, promotions. It helps in strategic planning. It increases investments in human resources. It helps to cover recruitment gaps. It helps to ascertain training and development needs of employees. It helps to determine staff costing. It helps in ascertaining manpower needs in number and kind. It presents an inventory of existing manpower of the organization. It helps in determining the shortfall or surplus of manpower. It helps to keep abreast of the rapid changes in technology, marketing, management, etc., and the consequent need for new skills and new categories of employees. It helps in acquisition, utilization, improvement, and retention of human resources.
Yeah, thank you very much, Grace. Yeah. It's what it is. I mean, we can't overemphasize that. I will take this one over. It helps in ascertaining manpower needs in number and kind. What is number and kind? Can take any, yeah. What is number and kind in ascertaining manpower needs? Anyone?
Hi.
Hi.
I think kind is like the way you carry, you look at your staff establishment. So kind is you want the right type of people. The ones that satisfy a certain need or a certain gap. And the number also it's to do with also the gap. How many you need in this department or in this area?
Yeah, very true. The kind of people we want, you know, what is the experience? What are the skills? What are the competencies? Yeah, thank you very much. Anybody else? Anybody else? And why does it help in strategic planning importance? And we thought we already have a strategy. Anyone?
Let me just also add to the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about kind, I'd also talk about by this time, you know the kind of people who are successful in the organization. So not everybody can make a success in an organization. So when you say kind, you have sort of the competencies and attitudes of the kind of people who function and flourish in that organization.
Mm-hmm.
Over.
Okay. So when so what happens to the other people who are not of, let's call them kind in this organization? What will you do to them? What do you plan for them? Because you already know when we have this kind of skills, competencies, attitude, even, you know, this, in fact, it starts with attitude. Then you can all plug in all these other things. These are the kind of people we want in these organizations. The ones are, so let's say with the 70 of us here, and 20 of us really have the kind of competency, skills, and experience that we need. So what happens to the 50 of us? Which is the reality on the ground. We come to?
You plan to develop them.
You can't develop them.
You plan to develop them.
Oh, you plan to develop them by? Or through?
Through training,
mm-hmm.
mentoring.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What else can you do? Will you keep training people, coaching people, mentoring people, and they are not getting there?
I think you would then make sure that your performance management system then speaks to either develop them or to either then decide that we need to part company.
Exactly. I think your performance management system informs everything you ever want to do for the people who are just piggy banking on your organization. Yeah. Jen, are you Jen Wanjohi? It's not too stable,
Yes.
and I know you want to say something. No? Okay. There's a lot of latency in it. Yeah. Sorry, Jen, we can't hear you. Very whatever, yeah. Sorry, Jen, we can't hear you. Anyway, so what I'm trying...
Now,
sorry, Jen. Yeah, you need to mute someone. So anyway, that's what I'm saying, that your performance management system really informs what you really need to do with the rest of the people who do not perform. But I think one of the most important thing is your culture. Your culture plays a big role in you being a highly performing organization. So if your culture is not right, you don't have good, you won't have people with good attitude, and good attitude forms a basis for anything. When you have a good attitude and you know that you're lacking in this competence, then you're happy to go and gain it. But if you have the wrong attitude, no matter how much you try. So again, everything is interconnected around manpower planning. Your performance, your training plans, your culture, the attitude of the people in the organization, how you motivate them. It's all around manpower planning. Okay. Any question there? Any challenge? Someone who has done things differently?
My question is, under manpower planning, can you plan for succession planning? As in, can that be geared towards success so that you develop the right people to succeed some like positions at the top?
Is succession planning part of manpower planning? Anybody who would like to answer that? Does it form part of your strategies around manpower planning? Developing people for succession planning? I know someone had already alluded to that here earlier.
Morning.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. Hortensia?
Yes, it is. Just wanted to respond to that question. It is because in manpower planning, you just make sure you plan for your future And when you're planning for your future, you need also to plan for succession. Who will take this position? Who will continue? Things like that.
Yeah, it's one of the key strategies that you would that you use for manpower planning. You know, it's not just about filling in the gaps that you have now. It's true that we have 10 positions, we've increased our business has grown, we need 10 more people to come in, and for sure you need 10 people. But again, incrementally and looking at your long-term plans, what do we need? Whom are we training? Whom are we getting ready around to take up the next jobs, that whatever. And if you have not mapped out your critical positions today, please go and do it after this, whatever. I'm sure we all know about critical positions and why it is important for us to know our critical positions, which aids us in manpower planning. Okay, I hope everybody is aware and how to carry out the process of mapping out critical positions in the organization. Okay. Any question on that?
Okay, now that you've talked of critical positions, there's always this issue of key positions and critical positions. Maybe just very briefly, can you give me a distinction?
Okay, key positions, critical positions. Is there any difference between key positions and critical positions? Thank you for asking that question. We are here to share knowledge and to get experiences and to make sure that we go out better than we came. Key positions, critical positions. What's a key position? What's a critical position? Are they one and the same? No.
I think I think there would be, this is just my own 2 cents. I would think that critical position depends on the mission of the organization. Because say for instance that like you are in manufacturing and there is this person who does formulation. You know very well that if they left the organization, there would be a huge debt. But the other bit is about maybe decision makers, the people who are the planners, the manpower planners, making sure that things are done. I would distinguish it from that front. This is just my 2 cents. Maybe they would be one and the same thing depending on which industry you are in. But there are some people who can make you close shop.
For your business, it's true. Okay, so thank you, Catherine. Is there a difference between critical position and a key position? Anyone else? These are my key positions in my organization. These are my critical positions in my organization. Anybody else?
I think key positions are those ones that without which the organization cannot maximally operate on its objectives. And the critical ones, they are equally very important, but their importance is debatable. It can be done with or without, depending on the strategy.
Okay. I think the names are used interchangeably. Key position and critical positions are one and the same thing. And we find a lot of critical people who like to use critical positions are consultants when they come in and do your job evaluations. You will say, let's map up your critical positions. And this is the criteria of mapping up your critical position. There must be a criteria. And it's the same key positions. Which are the key positions in this? And key positions normally are used a lot at management level, C-suite, SMT, EXCO, whatever you call them in your organization, really used interchangeably. So it's one and the same thing. These are my key positions. If we didn't have if it's manufacturing, like Catherine has said, the person who formulates the the product and knows how to mix the Coke for us to get the Coke product on the shelf. That's a key position. That's a critical position in the organization. The business can almost come to a halt when you have not whatever. So that's why it is important. When you are doing succession planning, manpower planning, who would be, if the person who's holding the critical position, let's call them John. If John was to resign or to leave this business, is Grace ready to be able to fill in the gap for that critical position? Or you would have to go that night and beg John, please, John, please don't go. Give us please 3 months to look for a replacement. And you are thinking your replacement, the person you would like to pick, is working for your competitor and they are paid 3 times more. And you remember your P&L cannot accommodate. Therein goes. I mean, that's why I keep on saying, as HR people, let's be more strategic. It's important for you to think ahead for the business. It's important for you to think ahead as a person. That's how you add value and come and say, I can't afford it. So today, if you have not mapped, you could have 1,000 you have 1,000 employees in your organization, but only 100 positions are critical in your organization. And of course, you have 1,000 people, meaning that if you have 10, maybe 20 drivers holding one position, you get what I mean? So it's important. And these critical positions, sometimes we don't think through them through much, because also those people who occupy that, they all have almost made them, I mean, you can't do without me. Nobody is indispensable. I think that is important for us to learn. Okay, great. Is that clear? So the criteria, please go and check on your criteria based on your business, map it out, and start having a plan around your critical positions, that you are not left high and dry or exposed at risk. And some also need compliance with government regulation bodies and stuff like that. So it's important for you to understand that. Yeah. Someone else, any question there before we look at the process of manpower planning? So that it's not just you're not taking your crystal ball and telling God, oh God, please help me. You know, the body is going to ask me how many people that I need. And let me look at this magic ball and say, 10 positions. Because manufacturing has been asking and marketing has been asking, they've been loudest, you know, so let's give them the positions. Great. Anybody? Question? Okay. So the process of manpower planning, look at this. Look at this. Anybody who can interpret it for us? That's the only way we really get out whatever. How the arrows are going, how they are forming, who starts where, or is it a never-ending cycle? Anybody? Let's interpret the process of manpower planning. How do you plan? Remember the first slide where we said, what was it? Forecasting. It was forecasting and then? Formulate this, formulate it, please. Someone tell us. Forecasting, developing, and controlling. You remember?
Yes, if I can try and go through.
Yes, thank you.
The organizational objectives will basically come from your mission statement and your strategy. So you will have these objectives. Now the objectives will be balancing on which HR needs factors you are putting in place. When you have the needs, what factors are you looking at, and the supply of that kind of HR. Because you can also have some positions, but the supply, there are very few people maybe with the kind of credentials that you have. Once you have balanced the needs and the supply out there in the market, then now you put programs in place. You know, the program for balancing the two, Then after programming, because programming entails a whole lot of work, then you roll out the implementation. Yeah. Once you have rolled out the implementation, it's like a pilot project. You start looking at, are we succeeding? Are we around what we had already put in place? And then you evaluate. If it is not working, there would be the issue of there would be a surplus or a shortage, and then you evaluate it accordingly. If there is a surplus, then I guess that's what you are saying. You restrict the hiring, or there would be a need for layoff. But again, when you have a shortage, you go back again into the system and relook at supply versus demand. It's a demand supply issue, and the ways, the how.
Exactly, yeah. So the process of manpower planning, you know, manpower planning is a science, is an art behind it. It's not just one day you wake up and say, well, sorry guys, let me just say this, and it will look so off coming from me, but apologies before, is that many HR practitioners, before we understand what manpower planning is all about, we always think it's about hiring. That's it. I have a JD, I have a budget. Even we don't challenge it. We don't interrogate it. We don't even go past total. We don't even go to total cost to company. Manpower planning. Okay, the department has said they want to hire, but we must really be strong business partners to every department, to every line manager, for them to understand. So without us understanding what it is, we will always be put under pressure. We'll never challenge, and we are not brave enough to call out whatever. Always dropping the ball, because we just think manpower planning is just recruitment, that's it. The best I can do after that is make sure that the onboarding process is proper, that's it. Never see that person again. But from the onset, I said, if you do not understand your organizational objectives and strategy, manpower planning will always be a facade for you. So I'm glad we are here. I'm glad we are talking about it. And let's get past that, because we must plan. And what does planning mean? Planning means looking systematically at everything at every stage and asking, what are some of the things that need to be put in place? What are the risks that we might encounter? How do we counter those risks? Who are some of the people who will be helping us? Do we have the budgets to be able to do that? Then we have a proper process for us to be able to do that. Yeah. So thank you for unpacking that. So what are some of the, practically, I like to make it as practical as it should be. What are some of the HR needs? For example, paint it. What are some of the HR needs factor? You can continue, or someone else can take it up from there based on your understanding. Practically, what are some of the things at the workplace, or some of the things that you think that should be there, but you are not doing? Let's contribute. Let's contribute. Catherine, are you the one who, I didn't get your name, sorry. Are you the one who unpacked for us the process? Can you give some examples, 1 or 2 examples around HR needs? HR is supply.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, like I'm saying, there's the issue of, if I unpack the HR needs factor, like with demand. You see, demand, there's normally this rough organogram that you have.
Yeah.
And when you have the organizational chart, and you know, for us to be able to do the first year, we need these positions, like the way you are saying, critical positions, key positions and stuff, it must be represented in form of a diagram and the work, so that now the needs factor can come in. This person is doing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of job profile for that person that we require, the experience, So whether we are headhunting or whether we are using a recruitment firm comes with the need, because again, you balance it with your budget. Then now the supply out there. You know, like when the supply out there is minimal, those are the Java coffees that you have with some of these people and telling them how your organization is so good so that they leave the competition. If the supply is small, but if it is a lot, then you can just trust your recruiter, maybe your HRBP. You can trust them to hire these people for you, because then they are in the market, so they can do this for you rather than you doing it as a HR for supply purposes.
Yeah.
Maybe
true.
that is what, I don't know if it's helpful, but that would be what I can contribute.
That's true. Yeah. So your HR factor needs, you know, what are some of the things? What's your org chart? What's your total cost to company? How are you going to make sure that this person is aligned to the organizational objectives? So things like that, you know, you just make sure that the HR needs factor, that there is a position. This position is going to come and fill this gap. This position is going to come and do this, so that we really are sure that the HR need factor is already established. There is a position in the org chart. So you come and tell me, oh, please put this person in the org chart. I ask them, so where are they going to fit in this org chart of mine? Show me exactly. You want me to drop down the arrow for who? For why? What are they going to come and do? You know, so some of those things. And of course, there's real pressure of HRs being told, well, there's someone there, they'll come in tomorrow, because a certain politician or someone of influence, or even from the board level, and the board should be above board, you know, you should have that slogan, like what I keep on saying, the board should be above board, and they look at me and wonder, what do you mean by that? Yes, you should be the one setting the pace in terms of integrity, honesty, and making sure that you live to what you have actually signed against the dotted line, the code of conduct, the conflict of interest policies and stuff like that. So for them not to have undue influence, and then all of a sudden everything just gets by to be not what it should be. Okay, great. Anybody around the process of this is a chart that you should actually have on your board behind there. So when people come and you tell them, this is what I'm looking at, the process of HR planning, you know, and you can even put some of your objectives around here and come and say, you know, what are our objectives? Outline them here. You know, what are some here? You hear supply forecast. You put here your key positions, your critical positions, with a small little narration of what it is. What are some of the factors here? You tell people they must be a position, they must be total cost to company, we must be able to train them, we must be able to develop them, so that people see that we are really thinking about the organization. And brownie points where you can easily, quickly, and look as if you're indispensable. You remember that word, indispensable? Look at if and let them start feeling that you're whatever. HR programming, what are some of the things that we'll be bringing for these people in terms of putting them in place, motivating them, making sure that whatever. And after that, and then controlling and we're evaluating with the business, not just ourselves. Okay, so as head of department, we need to take this back to the business for us to be able to do that. Any question? Okay. Factors of this is nice, you know, factors affecting manpower planning. Someone read them, please read them out for us. What will be some of the factors that affect your process, your planning, manpower planning, how you bring in people to the organization? It's not just a matter of whatever. Someone read out for us.
You have organizational growth cycle and planning, environmental uncertainties, outsourcing, nature of the job, about that type and quality of forecasting information, the time horizons, type and strategy of the organization.
Thank you very much. Can we unpack them? Anybody unmute yourself, or you can continue just unpacking them. Pick whichever you want in no order of in no order or in no preference.
Like for environmental uncertainties, the human resource department does not operate in isolation, and the organization itself does not operate in isolation. What is happening outside there and it will affect the organization, ultimately will also affect the human resource. For example, if you want to recruit certain people, like during like COVID, like in a COVID-19 environment, and because of the uncertainties that are occasioned by the environment, it might not be viewed as prudent to recruit more, even if your organizational objectives originally made room to recruit more people, but the environment now does not permit you to recruit.
Exactly, yeah. So certain environmental uncertainties, and it's very clear. A very easy example is during these unprecedented times of COVID. I mean, now we are past COVID, maybe we understand it a little bit more. I didn't see a lot of panic around businesses. What will we do now? We already understand some of those things. Yeah, very true. Things just change. The environment can just change drastically. You have no control over that. Okay, yeah. Remember, your SWOT analysis also comes a lot into manpower planning, and this some of the SWOT analysis you'll be looking into. Someone else, time zones. What are time zones around manpower planning? Factors that could affect manpower planning. Time zones. It's just what it is. Someone unpack.
Maybe just to contribute, when do you need this position in terms of time as you are planning? Because say for instance that you need a receptionist on month 4. You don't bring them on month 1 because first of all, they develop the wrong habits, then they are idle, then they are also a cost factor. So when you are planning, when you are doing your needs and supply, then you need to look at the time when these people critically are needed in. And when you are talking about critical needs, is that also there is the onboarding process, when you are training them and all that, because they are not yet on their desk. But what do they need before you get there for you to impact the culture of the organization and all that? So those are put in time horizons.
Yeah, time horizons. Make sure you recruit at the correct time. If we've been given, let's say your financial year ends in December and you've been given approvals to recruit 25 heads for this year, what it means that those 25 heads are not all going to come in January. It's a staggered approach depending on the business need, knowing that this receptionist is supposed to come in June, and then work backwards and say, the metrics for hiring of bringing in a new person, it's about 90 days, isn't it? That's the industry practice. So we need, if we are coming in June, we need to start preparing for this recruitment in March. So comes June, someone is already seated. But again, you can't start saying, oh, we need them in June, and start hiring in June. When will they come? They'll come in September. It also means that you have distorted your business. You remember, your organizational strategy needs to run on wheeled. It's oiled and wheeled. It runs well. So it's also important for us to know that if the position is needed in March, we start recruiting in January for us to get ready for them to come in that. But we cannot get everybody in because it distorts our planning. Okay, someone else, outsourcing, factors affecting manpower planning, outsourcing.
Okay, Catherine, I think I can attempt that.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right,
Go
thank
ahead,
you.
and then Jen, yeah.
So I think there's some positions that outrightly you don't need to be, involved directly as an organization. So it's up to you as the HR person, and also with the looking at, the strategy of the organization to identify which positions need to be outsourced and which ones need to be, within the mainstream organization. Just to put it in a brief way. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Jane. Anything? Jane Manjohi?
I believe she has captured it. You don't have to have all the jobs in your payroll, if I should say so. You can outsource to an organization. They could be the ones that can technically do it and do it well.
Yeah.
Or they just could be some very admin work that then you leave the technical work for the people you hire directly.
Yeah. The core business. Yeah. Leave your core business to yourself. Leave anything that can be done by someone else and do it well as an expert. Do it. Outsourcing does not, oh, by the way, let me just tell you, outsourcing does not also means that it's cheaper for the business. Not necessarily. Do you agree with me?
True. Correct.
Are we trying to sell that to the business? That outsourcing necessarily does not mean that it is cheaper for the business. You have to outweigh the benefits of outsourcing based on the value of your business. And if you don't have that expertise, outsource it. If you think that it is too heavy for the business, then start training internally. But so because we always say, oh, it's cheaper to outsource, and then there are all these there's all this debate around outsourcing. Is it good for us? Is what happens to our data? Is it compromised? Motivation? There's a lot of, outsourcing is a whole topic on itself, which needs a day. I think then can organize a training on outsourcing. So thank you. Okay, I'll take the last one in the interest of time. All of them are important. Organizational growth and cycle and planning. Someone needs to mute themselves. There's a lot of work coming from your mic. Organizational growth and planning. What does this mean? Very heavy one. I say, if you don't understand your strategy, you might as well not be. Sorry, I can't finish that. I'll seem so bad. You should not be there. It's true. Thank you. You completed it. It's not me. If you don't understand the organizational strategy, you should not be there. And if they hide it, then you should not be there. You're not wanted. It's not a secret. In fact, if it's anything, it should be so out there. And every day you should be asked by whoever is in charge of the strategy, do you understand it? Is there anything that I can do to make you understand more? And at the end of every month, everybody should be given an exam to do so. And then you're just thinking, my God, it's been drilled in so much. But at the end of the day, it's what really runs us, okay? Organizational growth cycle and planning. Are you involved in this? Or you're just told, well, that's it. Go and tell them. Do you feel that you're involved?
Yeah,
do you feel that you're not involved?
Yeah, I think this is where we have always argued that the HR's office should be next to the CEO. Yeah, because as he dreams and as he grows the organization, the HR must be his point man. You see, when say for instance, let me talk from a manufacturing perspective. Like we are doing for one client, we are doing this kind of lotions. Then from customer needs, they want us to also do product 1, 2, 3, which the same machines we have are able to perform. That's a growth. But when we do that, it means more people. It means there is a cost factor. It means there is an evaluation and control factor coming in. And so really the HR must be in the middle of, he must be in fact, the same way you have written here HRP, he must be the HRP in the organizational chart. He is the key person in growth cycle and planning for that growth, because the organization can easily collapse. if he's not consulted. And when we have these guys who call you, those telephone calls that come at midnight at kuna relative wangu anakuja hapo kesho, don't do this, mpeleke kwa hii ofisi. And then the person is just there to warm the chairs, as part of the furniture, and he's not doing anything. He's still a cost factor. How do you handle that as a HR? So the growth cycle must be in tandem with the HR.
Exactly.
The HR needs to be critical. Yeah.
You couldn't have put it any better. Today, if your office, if you still work in those fancy closed offices, and if your office is not right next to the CEO, uko kwa corner office the CEO has, or you have to walk like a few meters to the CEO's office. We're SMEC in terms of knowing organizational growth cycle and planning. You must be in the centerfold. If the CFO is there or the CEO or whatever, go and upset them this week or next week when you go back to the office and tell them, you know what? It's a wrap. You need to move to my office. I need to come here. And then they'll look at you and ask you why. And then you tell them, because HR is the centerfold for everything in this organization. I need to sit next to this person, because when you come and tell me that that client wants 5 more variants in their product, we are on a growth cycle, I need to plan for you that workforce. I need to convince the CEO quickly that this is how it's going to be. You give me the numbers and the projections and everything. Let's go in together. Right next to them, so that they see the impact and the knowledge that you bring to the organization. So not just, there's someone coming in from the village tomorrow, hire them, and you are thinking, when did this happen? When that is happening, you go and say, no, we don't have, the org chart doesn't have, the process is this. Come, all of you, this is the process. We all agree to this planning process. Where are they fitting? What are they coming to do? I like to have them. I can have an interview with them, but there is no place here. Here. There is no process there. And then this is how it's going to be affected. Where do we put them? They are not ready. Indeed, if they are what quality assurance? Yes, we do have a quality assurance in Q4. In Q4, they are welcome to apply for the position. Look at that ability to be able to impact the business positively. Oh, well, yeah. So some of the things that it's important for us to be looking forward and to add value to the business with these kind of conversations, with facts and with figures, and with assurance that you are doing the best for the business. And then I keep on saying, if this was your business, would you do it like that? Would you run it like that? To take a little bit on a guilty trip? If we were to buy this business, what would it do? Finish with those kind of guilty things that they go thinking, oh, okay, it makes sense. Thank you. Again, indispensable, or tricks and trades of becoming indispensable. Question? Comment?
Catherine, okay, let me give a comment.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to work like that in an international organization that has structures and systems. The challenge comes in with sole proprietors, like if you're working with, let's say, lawyers, legal firms, where the sole proprietors are the parties themselves, and they have been used to just bringing in anybody wherever they are. So standing up and challenging them becomes quite difficult in many aspects. So that's just what I have experienced. Over.
Yeah. I know, and I can attest to that in terms of SMEs, and SMEs where there is the founder syndrome. This is all what we know, and we shall be doing. But things slowly start changing when we put structures in place, and you become the. I totally agree. I've worked with SMEs who are trying to turn professional, doing things professionally. You go, they are all for it. And then the moment you leave, you just say, no, those things, they're expensive, they are not ready and stuff like that. But for us to be able to outshine competition, if we want to be the Fortune 500s, we must be willing as business owners to start putting structures in place, whether we have 2 employees, whether we have 10 employees, whether we have 50 employees, you know, and when we get opportunities as HRs to work with people in business, SMEs, let's give them the opportunity to see the value of having processes in place. You know, even if it's your friend, I'm sure you know of a friend who has an SME. When you have that discussion around a coffee pot and say, how is it? I'm struggling, whatever. You start asking, do you have processes? Do you have whatever? When you work there, I know it can be very discouraging. You can almost say, well, it's not worth it. Let me look for jobs and whatever. But also these Fortune 500 companies also started somewhere. Look at Amazon. They packed things in a basement. They didn't just grow. They were brave enough to come and say, we want to grow now when we're ready to grow. Processes. Every big company in this whatever started somewhere. And if the owners do not see that and take cognizant and are so inspired by saying, how did Amazon get to where it is? How will my little law firm get to Denton's? Denton's is a very big law firm worldwide and very well structured. How do I get to be a Denton's? You know, how do I do that? So again, it's also the attitude, I understand, Jane. It's people wanting the best, you know, it's me and now, but also remember it's people who help you get to where you are. Manpower planning, without people, you'll never be able to do it. So I totally understand it's not easy, but are we able to influence even the smallest little steps that when we are there, that can leave a legacy? Okay, someone else? And I know that the same happens in governments, in county governments. Oh my gosh, there's so much to be done in this lifetime. Sorry, guys, but it's difficult, and I can attest to that. Okay. So problems to manpower planning. Who are the greatest resistors of manpower planning? Who resists the most manpower planning? We understand it. We are happy as HR to guide the business. We are very technical, capable of running the manpower show. We're able to present. We understand how it's going to come into place. Who are the greatest resistors? And who want to cut cash shots?
Line managers.
Line managers. Isn't it? Yeah. The very same people who want help are the very same people who do not want to conform. Conform. It's too much. You HR, you put obstacles on the way. And then when it goes wrong, whom do they blame? They blame you first, isn't it? Okay. So what are some of the problems that you have seen around manpower planning? Some of the challenges around manpower planning? There can be as many as we are. Vested interest. Let's talk about vested interest. What are vested interests? You know, all those things. Anyone? Let's talk manpower planning very close at home. When you get that call at midnight, they're arriving on the 6 o'clock bus. You'll take them for breakfast and your office serves breakfast. They come and have breakfast and you're looking at them and say, are you taking the next bus? The next bus leaves at 12. Thank you for coming to see our offices. That's what you are saying in your heart, but you can't say it loud, isn't it? Isn't it? You're just thinking, I can even give you my own fare to go back to the village. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Tell me about problems in manpower planning.
One of the problems we experience now is the COVID-19 pandemic. You plan something today, tomorrow, the world is upside down.
Yeah. The unprecedented times. Yeah. The environment is very fragile. You're not able to adequately plan and say we'll be able to execute this because the following day things might change. Someone else?
Corruption.
Corruption. Tell me about corruption.
Well, that I think is one of those nightmares that HRs have to live with, because once you are a confirmed HR, you think you are the point that they'll always refer to when it comes to manpower planning, but you find out that there are other pseudo HRs elsewhere called line managers who also have their HR little departments. And so you end up, and that is, I guess, what you are saying. The office is there, just some down near the staircase there. You know, I mean, you're just a document person, but you get laden with people who can't even work. And then it's political, so you can't even fire them. Some of them are even earning more money than they are earning more money than some people, yet they don't even, some are not even computer literate, they don't even know that, but they're just relatives of good people who are decision makers up there or members of the board, and so you have to live with them. So they blot your budget, and your training needs assessment thrown out of proportion. Then they also have an attitude problem. So when you tell them you don't know this, so you need to go for training, they just call their godfather, you know, like, Papa, while you are away, this is what they did to me, you know, that kind of stuff. And before you know it, you are living a nightmarish life. Anyway, that's corruption.
Papa, while you are away, this is what they did to you. And then you've received that call from the chair of the board, you know, because, you know, you have normally whatever. Oh, shame. Yeah. It's mind draining. It's heart wrenching. Sorry. I mean, but it happens where people have been employed under the very nose of HR, who should actually be the one. After we do the interviews, the file is normally given to HR to complete the process. But you are being told, well, add this person on the payroll. You're wondering, who are these? Can I see them? Yeah, it's a bit disappointing. Very, very disappointing. Someone else? And what can we do when we are faced with corruption around manpower planning? I mean, there was even no planning anyway. The interviews were done, the ship set sail. It did not even, it had a straight, smooth ride around the Suez Canal. It was not blocked because it just, as big as it was, the captain navigated it very well. Didn't block the Suez Canal, and everything went right. Someone, what can we do when we feel so vulnerable, so discouraged around resistance by the line managers not to follow the process? What can we do? Quit and go? Yes, quitting is one thing. You are not a tree. You can uproot yourself and go. Someone else. But that's not well, it can happen. But what can we do?
I feel that it's bound to happen. It always happens. I think we all agree here. The resistance will always come. I think because, but we also have an advantage in that as people in HR, we know our managers very well. We know what we can sell to who. So I think it's also important that we sell them. We sell the planning to show the manager how it can benefit them, at least to the very best, to help them embrace what we are looking at. Yeah. It's how we sell it mainly that will create a difference.
Exactly. How we sell it will create a difference. Have people who are of the same mind with you. Start small, you know, form your allies are strong for you, you know, and come and say, we seem to do this so well. How can we take that to the next SMT meeting and really start buying everybody into this into this camp around planning, executing, even if it went pear-shaped this time, how can we redeem it and commit and get everybody to these 4, and sometimes even the person who you are so close to is also close to that person who breaks the rules and say, you understand these things so well. You see the benefits of us having this manpower planning in the organization, but this time, Amanda, offside. This offside, can we help him? Bring him, not just go to accuse him. Can we bring him to the fore and stuff like that? So how do you sell yourself? How do you endear yourself to your peers and even to your seniors or even to your juniors? Because some juniors can be as powerful as the CEO or as the board, because indeed they were brought by the board. So how do you endear yourself to those people instead of just throwing in the towel and say, I'm going to look for a job somewhere else? It might be the same thing. Will you just keep going through the motions? And also looking for a job is draining, isn't it? And good jobs are few and far between. Someone else, what have you done practically around people who want to break every rule around manpower planning, the process that needs to be followed? Anyone? What have you done differently that has helped you navigate? And remember, manpower planning is not the recruitment process, it's the whole process of making sure that you understand the business plan, the objectives.
I think also, if you want to contribute, some of these people who are brought, quote unquote, through the back door, for lack of a better word, some of them don't tend to perform very well at the end of the day. So then it comes back biting onto the line manager or the person who really recommended this person to that person, either to the department or maybe is the CEO or something. So then it comes back to bite on the line manager or the CEO, because this person either tends to be lazy or they just don't, just become non-performers. So I think, and eventually they either have to let go of that person or they really have to suffer the consequences of having a very poor employee within their department. So I think that you can use that as a lesson in the future, so that then for them, they will not be they'll not be hasty to hire somebody else on those terms. Again, they would not listen to you as the HR person, because you can then cite that as an example and say, we hired XYZ and look at what happened, and so can we follow the right process now? And then let's get the right person, let's follow the process that has been set up and that has been properly strategized. I think so. For me, it worked that way. So I think one can also use that as a strategy as well.
So I keep on saying twofold things. Yes, learn from our mistakes and what can we do to make sure that it doesn't happen in the future. The other thing is that me as Catherine, who has been brought in through the back door, and I'm going to a place where I know I am not accepted, I don't have the skill. Either I refuse the job, which no human being will do that, unfortunately. The other thing is that, earn your way through backdoorish, but go and toe the line so much. You ask for help, you have a good attitude, and you show that indeed I'm able to redeem myself. Anyway, that person must have been made from mass and dropped, Unfortunately, many of them don't have a good attitude. They continue developing. But how about, yes, you've come in, let us help you to be successful. And for you to be successful is that look at the culture of this organization, be the champion, do what needs to be done. Go for this training, though we have to cut our training budget to accommodate you. There's so much. And maybe sanitize yourself around that ability to do better and to prove yourself that, yes, okay, fine, I didn't get into well, but let the past be bygones and let me be able to forge forward. A lot of work needs to be done there, but the reality is that these people never just send a good vibe. And that's why we keep on saying, oh, some people bring in negative energy to the workplace. How do we remove the negative energy? These are some of the negative energies. Last week, but when I was speaking to my friend who, I will not name the organization and I will not name the consultancy that he's working on. I said, so where have you been? You were supposed to help me in this conference. He said, oh, Catherine, you HR people. I said, okay, fine. Tell me, because I'm your therapist sometimes. So we got talking and I said, so ghost workers are real. He went to do some work and found 100 people ghost workers. Then I said, so what does that HR say about 100 ghost workers? 100 people ghost workers. He said, oh my gosh. First, the frustration, they've come in the way we've discussed the back door. There's nothing that they can do, and they have to be accommodated on the payroll. Meaning that they're taking resources that would be helping improve the organization or driving the organization goals to the next level, but we have to accommodate 100 people on this payroll because they have been brought in by anybody. So the company it's not doing well. You can guess which kind of industries those are anyway. So I won't say, but yeah, HR. HR is not for the faint-hearted. Me in my next lifetime, HR, no. I'll just be a telephone worker. Hello, ring, ring. How to transfer to Jen? Jen, here is your call. Easy. I'm not pending any work when I'm going home. That's it. I just have to find a smiley, you can know someone who's smiling in the line, hello, how are you doing? How may I direct your call? Okay, have a good day, darling. Next. Yeah. Who would want to become a telephone operator? And they have the best job. Anyway, going on pretty quickly. So what are the 5 essential, so we know that the uncertainties around like COVID times, resistant by employees, you bring in someone else. No, don't bring in more people. We are going to eat into our bonus, our retention strategies, our retention plans and stuff like that. Resistance by employees and inadequate information systems, that even when we have the opportunity to use technology to help the process, we still don't want because we have vested interest, and we've discussed about them. Any question, any concern around that?
Catherine, I'd like to just comment on what you said.
Yeah.
If you were the employee that came in through the back door, you would be very nice. You would want to know, you'd humble yourself to be taught. But I'll tell you, my experience of having observed some of these employees, they come with such a negative attitude. They come with such entitlement. And therefore, as a HR person, sometimes you just want to ignore them. Okay. So how I have dealt with them or supported their line managers is to always ensure that we have very clear performance objectives. And therefore, if you're to drive them out, you use the performance week so that it's very clear, it's factual. It is not she said, he said, it is as clear as this is what we agreed, this is what you delivered. I'm now putting you on PIP for whatever reason. Yeah. And then the other resistance by employees for me, what I've observed is trust. You'll find that a big number of the employees have such lack of trust in the organization's planning, and therefore they will not accept. In an organization I worked in some years back, people used to say, okay, we know Wakubwa, they're planning their own things, so who are we to say no? And therefore that begins a cycle of very bad vibe, very negative vibe around how we want to progress in working, and especially for us in HR. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Angeline, for sharing that. Totally agree. If your performance management, you remember what we said at the beginning, if your performance management system and plans are not going to work to be able to manage these people, manage everyone, too bad. If your culture does not speak for what it is, for what you pretend to be and what you're going to bring to the public or to your competitors or the products that you want to move, if your culture is not aligned and people do not do what it's expected to do, speak to them, the values, the beliefs, the traditions, no matter how much you try, I don't even know. Sometimes we just say, why can't we just close the organization? With that key like this, we all go. And then on Monday, we go think over the weekend. And then we come back and say, fresh. I wish it was easy as that. But again, who sets the pace for culture? Who sets the pace for really good management style? Who sets, all of us need to come and know that we are all employees. Some people feel as if they are more entitled than others, and it makes it very difficult. Don't allow for, they keep on saying, and maybe this is really bad to say, around that culture should be placed squarely on HR. I think culture cuts across. HR will enable the culture in terms of the products, programs that they put in place, diversity, inclusion, all those things. But it becomes very difficult when everybody is pulling one side, management versus the people, versus the us, the people who are brought in, entitled. It's difficult around being able to do manpower planning. Thanks, Angela, for sharing that. Anybody else? Okay, let's move. The interest of time looks like we'll never be able to whatever. So, okay, of course, we know that resistance by trade unions, slow and gradual process. We've said that coordinating with management, identifying of crisis. So many things can really bring around manpower planning, and which we have actually alluded to. So 5 essential elements of manpower planning. Can you recognize them? Anybody who can recognize them? Are you doing one? Are you doing all of them? Are you creating more around your organization? Someone read them out for us. Elements, essential elements in manpower planning. Someone needs to mute.
I can read out.
Yeah, thank you, Jane.
Somebody has muted me and I'm not the one who had background noise, but anyway, let me read. Yeah. Analyzing the current available manpower resources. The second one is reviewing employee utilization. The third, forecasting the demand for employees. The fourth, forecasting supply. And the fifth and last, developing our manpower plan.
Thank you, Jane. Yeah, a lot of clarity. Okay, so can we look at each one of them, please? Analyzing the current available manpower resources. What does that mean? And how do you do that? It's just like what it says, you know, how it reads. Someone unmute themselves. Analyzing the current available manpower resources. How do you do that? I see in our reports every day, we say, well, we have this number of people in the organization, this number of females, this number of males, this number of people living with disabilities. Isn't that what we do? So why do we do that? Analyzing the current available manpower resources. What else can we, what else can we analyze? Not just the number, what else?
I think we can have a periodic employee engagement surveys to see that people are engaged and how our engagement of our workforce is.
Engagement surveys, whether we have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Analyzing
if you work in the audit sections where your time is what is built, then you'll also talk about productivity, utilization, and those are things that help in terms of analyzing the workforce and whether they're adequate for the firm. Over.
Yeah, okay. Analyzing exactly what everybody is doing. how it's adding value to the organization. Someone else? Someone else? In depth? So it's not just what number. We have 2,000 people working in this organization. So if we have 2,000, what does that mean? You know, going deeper and saying, this is what they bring. This is how we meet the objectives. This is how we are analyzing the available, their capability. You know, do we have a lot of overtime? Does everybody understand what needs to be done? What are the kind of competencies we have? And if you don't have competency pillars for each position in your organization, please go and start putting it in place now. Okay. Reviewing employee utilization. And how have you been able to review employee utilization when many people have resulted to working remotely? This has been a big discussion, especially around managers who want to see people sitting across them. You know, you come to the office, I don't believe that you can work remotely, whatever remotely means for us, either working from home or working from a remote position, not necessarily where our physical offices are. How do we review employee utilization? What does that mean?
Hello.
Yeah.
If I may, having clear KPIs, clear targets, clear JDs to the staff would clearly show whether your staff are being utilized or not. Yeah, you need not see staff physically. Yeah, that would be a serious kanjo mentality. But just having clear KPIs for the staff to ensure that they understand their KPIs and their targets would ensure that the staff are fully utilized. That is for the office staff. For the casuals or the process minders, the thing would be to ensure utilizations in terms of man hours. Yeah, the actual man hours worked. You can rotate the staff from one department to another within the same man hours of a day. That would ensure full utilization of the staff.
Okay, employee utilization. And remember, it's a two-way traffic. We must be, let's always ask for feedback. I think we don't do enough of that as managers, or solicit for feedback from the people that we manage. How am I doing as a supervisor? What would you like to see more? What would you like me to do less? Do you feel that we're effective as a team? But half the time is that we always want to give feedback, but we never want to receive that feedback. Managers, one of the things that really encourage your line managers to solicit for feedback. We always think that, well, they'll give me negative feedback. Why do you think that they'll give you negative feedback? They'll give you feedback based on how they want you to be a successful manager, how they would like to be utilized, how they see you as a person, and some of the things that you should actually stop doing. So reviewing utilization, put in place systems and processes, your KPIs, your job descriptions. Things have changed over time. So important of reviewing employee utilization. It actually acts as a motivator. Forecasting the demand for employees. What is forecasting the demand for employees? The Jago's feeling. Forecasting the demand for employees. What is demand? Forecasting.
I can go.
Mm-hmm.
So I work in FMCG where we usually have peaks, and allow me to narrow it down to alcohol. So we usually have two peaks. There's one in Easter, but unfortunately due to COVID, we didn't have it wholesomely. And the other peak is in December, where, let me just say, Kenyans are most thirsty. So that is when alcohol moves per se. So in those particular peaks, we are engaged to include increasing the manpower, to enable us to move the product to the market. So that is some of the items that highlight the peak, that drive the focus for the demand of employees.
Yeah, demand for employees. So let's allow us just to take for you to give us an experience around, because the demand around the pandemic and Easter, we saw that people were not able to travel, the people maybe who had plans to travel up country or for a holiday or whatever it is. How has the business been impacted? Not necessarily, maybe if you want to cite your business from a manpower planning or from an industry perspective, and what do you think that can be put in place, and what do HRs need to learn from that?
So I'll speak from an operational mindset and also from a human resource mindset. My background is in HR.
Yeah.
So from an operational mindset, Nairobi forms more than 50% of consumption for alcohol and FMCG. That is including the sodas and whatnot. So the fact that we've locked down the bars in Nairobi has greatly affected sales. That automatically transfers into a human resource liability, which is basically you are forced to reduce staff. But it comes to two key things. It is the strategy and the structure. Yeah. So as long as your strategy is in line with what the organization plans to achieve, the structure would come in terms of how the staff plug into basically how you reduce the numbers. Yeah. You don't just reduce for somebody. It's dependent on how you actually reduce the numbers. The other bit is Kenyans will drink either way. The question is from where. Yeah, it's you to decide. So the market adapts, because you close the bars, supermarket sales go high. Yeah, there's I think it was 3 years back where Kenyans were voted the number 3 country who consume. So the population will consume the product. The question is from where. So just basically for us now to adapt, to package the product to suit the consumer to quote unquote drink from home.
Okay. And that's why we said from the very beginning, understand your company strategy, the objectives, and when it changes, are you in line with that? Are you aware of how, as a HR, are you really plugging in? And if you're not being plugged in, are you actively following up what's happening? Are you going to the CFO and say, what's happening? Are you going to the CEO and saying actively what's happening? You know, to the shop floor and saying what's happening? How can we help you? Where do we need to do? I like what you have said around how do I look at the people who will maybe be let go or maybe temporarily or something like that. Are we putting an empathetic heart? Are we communicating? We are doing this because of this, and this, and really breaking it down for them and saying, it's a bad season. This is what has happened. Quickly, we have looked at the business plan. Are you trying to get their views as well? And many other times is when we don't get people's views. After all, we are the ones who know. So the CEO comes and says, I have seen that sales will go down by 50%. So take 50% of the people home, without even having a strategy and asking those people how it's going to be done. So we have the responsibility as HR around manpower planning and say, whom can we retain? Whom are we going to let go? Whom are we going to put on a retainer and stuff like that? There are ways, and those some of the ways is constant communication. And also what Jane Wanjohi says is that, can we do surveys for people, for us to feel how people are feeling in this organization? But remember, your demand for people to take up a survey is how engaged they are. Goes back to your culture in the organization, how entitled people feel are, or how people feel disengaged by the organization. Forecasting supply is the same thing around how my business is going to grow, how many people I'm going to bring into the business, and forecasting that supply around my critical positions. Do I have enough people? At the same time, knowing that some heads are a bit rare and I need to really think on how I'm going to bring them in. Am I going to headhunt? Am I going to bring them on a full-time basis? Am I going to have salary personal to self? How many people have done salaries personal to self of late, or even in the past, or even in the past where you worked? And how did it work? And how did other people feel? Salary personal to self Anyone? Or even have been offered? And how does it feel? No one? We pack that? Does anybody? We all understand what that means and how that distorts and how everybody feels around it and how you get approvals for salary personal to self. What does that mean? Around forecasting supply. So I keep on thinking we need to look at all these things around forecasting supply. Anyone? Anyone? Anyone would like to comment on that? No? We pack it?
I think I would just say, yeah, it's available critical skills out there to be able to feed your needs for employees.
Feed needs
And
for
then you focus on when that period comes, what are you going to do about it? Maybe if you focus that way, you look at what available tools there are out there to help you when you need that supply. I don't know. Maybe I'm left.
Okay. When that focus around that supply, when you're going to need it. So you can do that and say peak periods like in the manufacturing of alcohol, they'll need people in December and Easter. During that time, they know that they will need to have more people bringing in, or like what we said during harvesting period. It's a harvesting period. I'll need in more people to come and help me. There's some industries which are really flat. They do understand that there's never peak, there's whatever. We are really constant in what we do. Salary personal to self, especially around critical positions. And do you allow it? Or how do you just accommodate those kind of one-off outliers around the organization? Anyone? Do you encourage it? Is it important for us to have it? Is it part of business? Is it part of manpower planning?
Can I speak to that? Because it's a recent thing I encountered. The key thing we did was, at least I did, was do the full computation of how much it will cost per year, and then see the impact on the payroll, and then talk about sustainability. And then we talked about internal equity, because that was some of the things that were the challenges. And then I gave then we had that discussion with the managing partner just to show her the impact long-term of what this has to do. Over.
Yeah. Did you make a decision? Was it accepted when you had all the metrics in place?
At least it had the conversation with the other partners, so that I think it was suspended since now then COVID came in. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe it was an easy way to bend it because of what it is. Yeah. One of the risks assessments around your manpower planning is one column around salaries personal to self. There might be people that you really want. You want this resource, and this resource maybe comes already where they are. Let's say this job you are paying 50,000, but the person that you want to bring in is already at 100, and you know this is the person who might work magic. I mean, everybody agrees, but you come and see, well, they're already way too high compared to what we can afford. So it comes and distorts our internal, our salary bands, internal relativities. People will get to understand. Someone needs mute. People will get to understand what that they've already come in with a higher salary. There are too many things. You must have that column as part of your risk for bringing in critical positions. And what are you going to do? So that is when now, around the risk, how do you mitigate that risk? It's through succession planning. Long term, always, again, looking smart of what it is. You might bring them in, maybe to help you in the interim, as also again, you come and say, well, they might be able to grow the business. So it means also the other people at around that time, we're also able to increase our salaries. So a big debate around salary personal to self, very expensive to the business, distorts your salary P&L for that year. But what does that person come to deliver? Again, you also have to look at the internal people. Do they come and discourage the other people who are here? Oh, it means even me, I can go and work in that company, XYZ company. And then when you guys are coming to look for me, I'll come in at a premium. Big debate around salary personal to self. Okay, great. The last one, developing a manpower plan. What does it mean? And how do you? Developing a manpower plan. What does that mean now? Your jar is full. When you do all that, what does that mean? Someone complete it now? Mm-hmm. Complete that. If I just go through, I mean, in terms of checking what we have just said. Okay, great. Sorry. So just to sum it up, analyzing the first step, managerial judgment, work study techniques, statistical analysis, employment needs, replacement needs, growth and expansion, and productivity. Where are we? We are there. Sorry. Essential steps. And then after that, we come to steps in manpower planning. Analyzing the organizational plans. And then we demand forecast. Then we supply forecast, like what we have said, existing potential loss, potential additions, estimating the net human resource requirements. Step 5, in case of future supplies, plan for redeployment, retrenchment, and layoffs. And we said, how are we going to do that? We're going to do that with empathy. And we're actually going to do what? We are going to have to communicate. We also have to take the views of people who are being retrenched and what would they like to see? How can they help the business? What are their thoughts around helping the business? Is it the right time for us to retrench? Is it the right time for us to lay off? Okay, great. Yeah. So just make sure that you follow the process. And I'm sure all of us have followed that, that debate around the Radio Africa. I'm not going to bring it here because I guess it's now it's in the public gallery. But what do we learn as HRs around layoffs, around brands sponsorship, a key resource in an organization? And I'm sure we've it's something that we need to keep close tabs around. What are we learning around the process of offboarding people, whether around gross misconduct, termination, death, retrenchments, things like that. You might just find yourself in front of a judge trying to give evidence, and just make sure that your processes are clear, you do understand them, and you can also be able to give back feedback and say, I don't think this is the right process, or this is the right process for us to be able to follow that. Sometimes, again, overtaken by the CEO and acting in haste, and then we have to come and make sure that they're the ones who are on the receiving side. So it's always HR, and that debate revolved around, well, what did the HR do? What the HR did not do? Or the ones that around COVID, this is what HR said. HR was not empathetic, and maybe you gave the information and the information was not followed. So how do we become strong business partners to line managers and to SMT? And sometimes they say, it's not Catherine, this is what the law says, but it's HR is a risky business, sorry. Yeah. So those are the steps to my manpower planning. Any question? In the interest of time, any question? Any concerns? Any concerns? Is that something that you do all the time? Elements and then defining them further around what we need to do. Anyone? Or we still want to go and look through a crystal ball? I'm sure not, yeah? And I'm sure that is not something that you do as well. Okay. Manpower planning model. How does it go? What's a model? Do we use models? That's why I said it's a science and art. It's not just something that we wake up one morning and do. Manpower planning model. Anyone who would like to analyze it very quickly? Read it through, look at it critically. Someone who has not said anything? It starts getting a bit technical now. You can just read through it and then we analyze it, all of us, the interest of time. We must have a model. Someone read for us, unmute yourself. Just going in like this, the way my cursor is going, and like that. You see it feeds into that. Someone please. Sorry. Opportunity for us to be able to learn. You know, we keep on saying the 70, 10, 70, 20, 10. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Exactly.
I can go?
Yeah. Yes, please go. Thank you.
So I'll just go top down, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
So the first is long range objective and plans. That feeds into the overall requirements for human resource, feeds into the inventory of present human resource, into the net new human resource requirements, to the action program for recruiting and selecting needed personnel, which feeds into the procedure for evaluating effectiveness of human resource planning. The bottom, the lower layer, short-term goal, plans, programs, and budgets, goes into the workforce requirements by occupational categories, goes into the inventory by occupational categories, into the needed replacement or additions. Finally, plan for upgrading, developing, transferring, and recruiting.
Great. So a model that goes round and round, and it's very clear around our bringing in new talent into the organization. So you have the long-term objectives, and then you have also the short-term objectives. So let's look at what it means. We all know, you're looking at the strategy, you have understood the strategy. If the strategy is changing midway, what are we going to do? How do we circumvent it? And how do we navigate it? So sometimes our long-term plans can be disrupted. So it means that we have to come and look at short-term plans that are really going to work for us. Because if we don't have people, who will be doing the work? For sure, machines will now start doing their work. We can see even HR will be, I don't know whether HR will HR die and be replaced by machines? I don't know.
That's impossible.
Why do you think it's impossible? HR?
It's because HR is extremely dynamic, yeah? The fact that you're dealing with human beings, people grow differently in different areas, have different reaction to things, have different reaction to very small non-issues. It's, from my end, it's practically impossible to replace HR, but elements like finance, very possible. Items like marketing, very possible. Sales, it's also impossible, like HR. That would be my take.
Yeah. Someone else who thinks that HR will be here to stay forever? Functions of HR. I think some of the functions can easily be
Catherine?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to advance where you certain functions of HR will have to innovate or mute. Let me use the mutation. They will have actually then to be responsive to what is required and what is changing outside. And especially when where we are looking at the manpower planning model, this is where including the data analytics and many of those things, that acquisition of new skills we need as HR. And what I see, even as we discuss about this modeling, is then this is the value add. If we are able to connect the thoughts of what the analytics in terms of HR planning or the HR are telling us with the corporate strategy, then we'll be able to advise better. So there are possibilities to say, yeah, HR is not okay. HR is here to stay, yes. Even when we talk about AI and machine learning, that's a transfer of knowledge and expertise from human beings. So we continue even the interpretation. You get, when you do all this AI machine learning, there's an output that will still require interpretation based on HR expertise in terms of what it means, what skill sets we're looking at. Those skill sets will continue changing, and that's actually where we see, yes, HR is staying, but also changing with time. Thank you. Over.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, very agile. We need to be very agile. We need to be very innovative. We need to actually, because we are the same ones who will be inputting in the AI machine learning, but how some bit of interpretation will still need the human eye, dynamics around what does it mean. People still need that human touch around. I saw Catherine, she called me, we discussed it, we agreed to this. So the function of HR with the human touch will still be there, but there will be a lot of things around AI, using technology to be able to be more efficient, more agile, increasing the possibilities of business growth. HR has a big role to play there. So what skills do we need as HR people now? Let's talk about ourselves as HRs. What skills do we need to be able to fit into the fourth industrial revolution? As businesses are looking at advancing using technology, let's not also leave ourselves behind, because maybe if we needed 10 people to run the organization from a HR point of view, perhaps we'll need only 2. Will you be the 2 to be left because you have all it takes, or you'll have to be the 8 who go? And what will the 8 be doing? Will they be rendered jobless, or they will need to innovate around that? So there's a lot of discussion around that. If you've not started having those discussions in your organization, I think it is time for us to have those discussions. So around long-term planning, short-term planning, the inventory, you see the overall human resources needs, the inventory present in human resources. I think that is what really we need to be aware of. The procedure for evaluating effectiveness of human resource planning for the organization, for ourselves, so that we are able to adequately support the business as it needs. Any question there? The model? It's not complicated. It's what it is. Short term, long term, what needs to be done, what resources that will be needed. Is it, are we ready now, replacing the needed replacement or additions and stuff like that? And there's a big debate around internal and external people, who we will be able to see that tomorrow. Any question? Okay, we agree that this doesn't even need discussion. Requirements for manpower planning at different levels. We know at national level, industry level, individual unit. What does that mean? And sector unit, what does that mean? When do we need it at national level, individual unit, industry level, and sector level? I'll guess.
So, Catherine, if I use the government example,
yeah.
So we are looking at the public service, and which is actually basically made up of the national government units and the county government. So we are looking at public service commission, then looking at the modeling around the HR that will be required based on those many different variables we have discussed. Then under each of, the way government is organized, and their sectors could be education, could be health, and many of those. They will also need to model their workforce around their requirements. And of course, then industries, wider than we, now if you come to the private sector, then we're talking whether it's insurance, you're talking financials and all those other things. But individual units, then, we cascading down, we're going down, breaking down and see within then a sector, there could be finance, there could be HR, there could be other units within those sectors that also basically fitting in, not in the government. I think we are moving now where we could expect sector to national approach in terms of forecasting, but as it were, it's still from national to individual units, which does not necessarily give us the clear picture, because then it's somebody planning for us, and they may miss out a number of things. So should be going forward where we're starting from individual units, then fitting into sectors or industry and national level. Thank you.
Exactly. Yeah. So it can go either way, from individual, from national unit. I think the most important thing we need to understand as HR professional here is, at different levels, do I really understand at national level what, if I'm playing in that space, at national level, what needs to be brought in? Am I keeping up with the trends? Am I aware? Can I contribute to that conversation at national level, where we say or even at, let's say at global level, where there is the Sustainable Development Goals, for example, or even at the World Economic Forum, where we say that these are the kind of jobs that will be required at a global level. Are we aware of that? Just not really in depth, but are we really aware? Are we aware at ILO level that this is what is happening, and these are the kind of discussions that are happening? At industry level, where I play in a certain industry, if I'm in telecom industry, if I'm in the agriculture industry, if I'm in the hospitality industry level, what are the emerging trends in this industry? Am I able to know that because I work in the telecom space, this is what is emerging, and for me to be able to support my organization at that level, I need to be ahead of the games. Many of us are not, sometimes we are thinking too micro, yes, instead of macro. For me, the challenge here, even for me as Catherine, is that, am I really thinking that big? Or am I just thinking, well, I understand the strategy for my organization, but if things are to shift now, let's say COVID came, was I caught flat-footed? Was I able to contribute significantly to the business and say, for sure, we didn't see this coming, but we saw that coming. And if we had seen that coming, what did it mean for me? For me to be able to advise the business or contribute to the on the table and say, this is what I see. So let's not just think at an individual unit saying that this is where my company is right now, this is what I understand, but let's now go above that and say, who are the pacemakers? This is what this company has done. And for sure, they have been able to sustain themselves, because 3 years ago, we thought they were crazy. They took people for this training, and we just thought, well, they have extra budgets and whatever. But look at what it has done for them right now. And I'm sure we can talk about 1 or 2 companies who are a bit ahead of time in terms of this is what they did and this is whatever. But we just thought, well, ni kuendelea tu mbele, wako na budgets and whatever. But now they are reaping the benefits of what it is. And as we are struggling to get where it is, sometimes it's important for manpower planning in terms of retention, in terms of looking at the bigger picture, or even where can I go and tap into some of these rare positions, which might be expensive. If they're too expensive for me, then can I come and start training internally? So in terms of playing at a different level, and not just at playing at the individual unit where I know. So more work for us A lot of us do not want more work on our plate. It's already full. But again, how do you make yourself indispensable in that area? Any question? Any question? Any thought around that? Or you don't have the opportunity, or the organization you work for doesn't even give you the opportunity to be able to do that? Or you feel that you're not ready? How can we help ourselves as a strong community of practice as HRs to be able to play at that level? National level, not maybe whatever, but just having the highlight that you can contribute to that debate. Okay, question?
Catherine, if I may?
Yeah.
Mine is just a comment based on what you just mentioned, which is it's very important, yeah. And COVID has taught us the hard way. On this earth, if you don't adapt, you get replaced. Yeah. We all remember Kodak. Some of us grew up knowing it. Others were around when it was around. So where are they now? Yeah. It's best to take those learnings and implement it in a personal life. Yeah. Because if you don't enrich yourself, if you don't adapt to the market, if you don't network, if you don't link up with people, that's how you get replaced.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's it for me.
You really need to be seen that you are really aware of what's happening. Okay. So let's very quickly, I'll just run through it. And then tomorrow we will just, as we continue, I'll do a recap of this. And this is where maybe this is where we'll start in, just getting into the rest of really how to man plan internally, very practically. So some of the forecasting techniques, very easy, and we all know them. Who wants to read them out? Forecasting techniques. You remember where I said, well, it's not just a science of last year we grew by 10%, so let's add the workforce by 10%. It must be planned. Someone please read all those forecasting techniques that we can use at the workplace. Very quickly. Yeah.
Ratio trend analysis, regression analysis, work study techniques, Delphi techniques, managerial judgment.
Exactly. It's as simple as that. When you think about the regression analysis, you just think that's statistical class by professor. Who again? Here it finds you. I'm telling you, life has just a way. Life is really packed in one big ball. So you thought you would run away. So 5, did I go? Oh yeah, sorry. So identifying the goals, identifying the demands, assessing supply, determining the demand, and developing the strategy. You remember the 5 forecasting stages. And what do you think are the ratio trends? What are ratio trends? Someone read there very quickly.
Ratio trends techniques. Trends analysis techniques involved in studying past ratios, forecasting future ratios, and adjusting for the future changes in the organization.
Okay, please continue.
It uses historical relationships between a business index like sales, contracts, units sold, etc.
Okay.
And the number of employees required to achieve that index, that is labor demand.
Okay. So let me just give a very quick illustration of a ratio trend analysis and how you would use that to forecast your demand. Very, very easy and very, very common. So we have, we are starting to become a strong brand. Let's say this was our company, the 75 of us on this webinar. And we were contract-based. Long time ago, we went in and people really didn't know about us. Someone took the chance on us and we did a very good job, and they recommended us and they recommended us. You get what I mean? And the first year we only had one contract. So we only needed 5 people to do that. And then the next year we went in, either there was a call for proposal or someone recommended us, and we continue getting more contracts. You know, if we continue getting more contracts and whatever. So it's very easy. It meant that with this kind of contract, with this kind of work, it took 5 of us to be able to do the work. We have now gotten 15 more contracts. How many people will we need? Trend ratio analysis. If we got 5 contracts, how many people? Easy. Someone please answer me. It means we will meet 5 times. 5 is 25. So if the business, the salespeople come and tell us, on my pipeline, I am following A, B, and C. And if we win, it means that you need to start looking at 5 more, bringing in 5 more people. That's the ratio of what it is. It's as simple as that. A ratio compared to the contracts that we have. If we are manufacturing this and it's moving off the shelf, it also means that we need to put in more people. So it means that if we want people on permanent terms, or if we want people on short-term terms, you know, you have, depending on the growth of your business, you know how many people are going to come in. And it's very easy maybe in manufacturing. It's easy in the agriculture business. It's very easy in the gardening business, because they say, well, we have we've signed up contracts with 20 people. Each estate needs this number of guards day and night, and it's easy for you to do that ratio. However, this kind of ratio trend analysis is very difficult for people who work in the NGO sector. Tell me why. Tell me why. Ratio trend analysis, it might be a bit challenging for them to use ratio trend analysis.
In the NGO sector, you're funded, and funding is cyclical. So therefore, you cannot just project in just ratios.
Okay, yeah. So what do they do more or less often in the NGO? They have 2 types of people. Anyone from the NGO sector here?
So they can, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, it's okay.
No, I'm saying that they also have an option of using consultants.
Option of using consultants, okay, yeah.
I wanted to say that we have then contractual staff embedded from the funds we have and the period of the funds put in.
Exactly. More or less, they have a fixed term contract for them to be able to know that my funding is for 5 years. I will bring in experts to program, to help me program in the area that I have told the donors I'm able to. I'm an expert in that, so 5 years. So very well planned, and the money is called down depending on how they are programming. Any other sector that is really fixed term? That is really fixed term? What about the government? What does the government do if you work for the government? I think the best place to work is work for the government. The government, trend analysis. Anyone from the public sector? How do we do our manpower planning in the public sector? Anyone? From all the discussions, or how do you think that if I am looking at working for the for the public sector, and I'm asked a question around manpower, how would you work around how would you bring in, how would you help us streamline our manpower planning in our organization, for example? How would you answer that question? And maybe that's the only one that it's a deciding factor for you to be able to get this job that you love, he's aligned to your values, you feel that it really belongs to you. How would you answer that question? You would say, "Ooh, I don't know. That one I had not thought through. I'll come and find out what you guys do." How would you go in looking smart? Manpower planning, the government doesn't generate its own money. It's actually a service provider to the citizens, supposed to provide money. I mean, it's supposed to provide services to its citizens. How would we do that? Anyone? Someone, please, how do we do that? That's what, Someone think through. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. Neither do I have that. I mean, when you think of all the civil servants that we have, about maybe, how many do we have? 240 or 240 our teachers? 1,000. 240. Maybe they're like, maybe 2 million public servants. I'm not sure, actually. I need to maybe check out that. How do you think that they come in and manpower planning? Do you think that the government does that? Or everybody comes with a bus from their village and come and congregate at a public service commission?
Catherine,
Yeah.
I don't work for the government. I've never worked, but and I don't know whether this is the right train of thought.
Yeah.
In government, I think the retirement age is well fixed, unlike maybe in other sectors where you can work beyond. I'm assuming they have a pipeline because they have everybody maybe in annual terms who should be retiring this year, and there are people who have been growing over the ranks. I don't know. I think that's some sort of planning for them based on the length of, I mean, how many people they are statutorily retiring every year.
Okay. So that's, yeah. So that's one definite way. Jane, definitely. We have 1,000 people reaching the mandatory retirement age. So we know that we are going to replace, and all of them do not retire at the same time. You remember that maybe 50 are retiring in January. So they already start replacing those people 3 months before. That's a straight line. But don't work increase in the government sector? Don't new services come into place? How so when there's pressure of work or there's no pressure of work? Someone in the public sector here tell us what happens. Manpower planning it's big. I can only imagine that it's as big as it is. In fact, we should invite, what's her name? That girl who's the CS. What's her name? Kobia. What's her name? First name? Isn't she the one in charge of whatever? Or the CS of labor? What happens? I have actually I would like just to understand the intricacies of manpower planning around. We know that maybe some people die, so that's they will be replaced. That's a bad example, but here people die, and when they die, maybe they need to replace, or even just look at that position whether we need it, and maybe either do it away. Even organizations, if someone leaves, sometimes we need to have that conversation and say, do we really need to replace this position? Sometimes we don't need to, and it just fizzles out in the org chart. Anyone else?
Let me try.
Yeah.
Let me try, but I may not be 100% correct. But normally we have a staff establishment. So we look at that establishment. It shows the number of people, the approved number of people in the post, the ones the approved number and the ones in post. It shows, and then the variances also are indicated. So that this report, you have to observe it each month. From there, we carry gap analysis. That is from my work. Then we do reports from all that. We do reports to management. From there has to be, if the numbers are really low, we have to request for
Sabrina, we lost you. We lost her. But I guess what she's
working around other policies to strengthen the people within, the workplace, like a succession planning, more of development policies, so that we can grow the people within, so that we can be able to multitask.
Okay. So you have like a plan, a model, a plan that also already plugs in and say, this is the optimal number of people that we need to do this kind of work, to provide this type of service that we provide to the general public. After that, then you see if there are any variances. Then if there are maybe 5 positions of X amount of skills that we need, you go to you apply to Public Service Commission, or that body that helps you hire and bring in the people. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. So
maybe
there's already a model.
that,
Yeah.
Okay, I think we normally look at the exits, and then we also look at the business trends. Like where we have expansions, we are required to look at the areas besides the establishment they approved, and then we look at what we require there. And maybe even when these trends could also include issues like automation, maybe we didn't have those skills before, and we include such things.
Okay, yeah. And I guess expansion would also be the number of people that you're supposed to serve maybe in that constituency. I guess that is also one of the trends that you look at, that there's an increase in population in this area.
Yeah, in our expansions,
yeah,
sometimes we open other areas of operation.
Okay. Okay, yeah. I keep saying the government is where you need to be, guys, the policies and what needs to be done. Yeah. So thank you for that insight around, yeah, there's good planning of what needs to be done, increasing and also looking at automation. It's nice. I keep on saying, when you need to give brownie points, please give them out. You go to a Huduma center, you look at people who have just finished college or university, they're young, you just wonder, oh my gosh, yeah, they still, and they are pushing the business, they're using automation, they tell you come tomorrow and you are served. I mean, it's your right to get served and a good service with a good smile. When you see that happening, you think, oh my gosh, this is a new, fresh look of government providing services to its citizenry. Yeah. So well done. Yeah. And I think sometimes, well, there could be shortage of staff and stuff like that. But anyway, I guess it's like any other organization where they want to keep the costs as low as they can, lean, very lean, but also making sure that services can be provided. Sometimes it doesn't go like that. It puts pressure, undue pressure on the existing workforce. Okay. So we have the regression analysis as one way of making sure that you remember what we are, the stages in how forecasting trends, regression analysis, work study techniques, the Delphi's techniques, and the managerial techniques. So allow me to stop there. And tomorrow we will start with the regression analysis, and then we take it up from there and be able to finish. Okay. Question? Concerns? Was it useful? Is it not useful? I'm sure it's useful. But feedback? 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 Anyone? Feedback? Was it useful for you? Is it things that you can implement? Are they things that you can be able to look into your organization and say, this is happening? Are there some things that you need to borrow from these, from people's experiences for you as an individual, take it back to your workplace?
For me, it has been very, very useful, and some reminders and some new areas that I've learned.
Yeah.
I think the latter part of the course, which you continue tomorrow, seems to be getting now into real technical ones, which I'm quite interested. But it has been really, really useful, and I love the level of engagement here.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks very much, Jen. Someone else?
It has been really been helpful. We have actually started implementing regression analysis in one of our sites. So this has been quite helpful, and based on what we have seen certain manpower numbers and productivity numbers are off, but it is all thanks because we are now using data rather than just hiring based on feeling.
Thank you. Yeah, you're using the science. Thank you for confirming that and validating that we shouldn't use the feeling. You know, we just feel that we need 5 more people. They need to be aware of really measuring what needs to be done. Thanks, are great. Anybody else? Feedback?
Hi, Catherine and the team.
Yeah.
This is Faith, having come from a travel industry which had been hardly hit by the pandemic. It's been a good session in terms of just getting to understand what it takes to carry out manpower planning. While we thought that things are going to be stable and we had started to recall people who are working from home, then again the lockdown. So it has given me an insight of the level of preparedness and how to carry it now from there. So I still look forward to the next training. It was very informative and insightful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anybody else before I hand over the mic to Dan? Anybody else? Okay. Thank you all for being very engaging, sharing your experiences, sharing your thoughts. It's always nice. I keep on saying that that's how we learn. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow bright and early at 8:30 as we continue with the rest of the webinar, and to go back feeling refreshed. And I keep on saying iron sharpens iron. Okay, so we'll see you tomorrow bright and early at 8:30. Then over to you. Are you still there? What lessons are you taking away today then? He fell off from the face of the earth. I can't see him here. Okay. Okay. So see you guys tomorrow, 8:30. Then we will leave the webinar now. I don't know whether you're still there, but we'll see you guys tomorrow. For me, it's a good rest of the afternoon, and let's continue engaging. Have a good one. Take care, and God bless you.
Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye, Jane. Yeah.
See you tomorrow, everyone.
See you tomorrow. Thank you. Yeah. Hi, Dan. I can see you have a visitor right behind you, someone who was learning with you. That's really good. Well done.
He has removed the
that is how it is. Yeah, that's how we learn.
She wants to say hi.
I can leave.
Oh, to all of us. Yeah. Hello. How are you?
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Did you help your daddy learn today, or you are helping him with the administrative work?
Helping him.
Oh, fantastic. That's good. I hope
But he's the one saying that he doesn't want me to help him.
Oh, okay. I think you have shown value, so I'm sure he will always allow you to help him,
Then he said
isn't
that
it?
he wants to fire me, that I don't be the director again. That's what he's saying.
So all of us here will make sure that you continue being the director. You've done a good job. And I'm sure if you didn't tell him to unmute himself, he would still be muted and not speaking. So you deserve a day's wage. What's your name?
Yeah. Destiny 10.
Oh, Destiny. Wow, fantastic. Well done. Thank you, Dan. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. See you. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Take care.